Hey guys, Dylan here, and in case you guys didn't know, this is the spin-off to Club Spin. It is not a replacement to Club Spin, it's just something I'm trying out, one-on-one interviews, because I thought it would be interesting. Today's guest is Chow Mix, and I decided that he would be the perfect guest for my new thing that I'm going to be doing. Some of these interviews are going to be where I shout out a Sonic tuber that I like. And I think Chow Mix is a newer Sonic tuber that people should really check out because he's doing different things than you would expect a typical Sonic YouTube channel to be doing.
Yeah, thanks for the shout out and the opportunity to be on here. I appreciate it.
So one thing I want to talk about first is I noticed that the artwork in your thumbnails is done by you. How difficult is it to do all of that artwork? Because it is pretty close to the Sonic Adventure 2 art style.
Yeah, to be honest, at first it took me a while to kind of get that style down. I feel like before I started my YouTube channel and started doing the illustrations for my thumbnails, I'd only really tried that style out like twice. But I kind of managed to quickly get the hang of it. And I'd say nowadays it probably takes me, it kind of depends on like what I'm drawing. If it's like a full body shot, it takes maybe like 4 hours. But if it's something that's more zoomed in, it's like maybe just like like from the torso up, maybe like 2 hours. Like I can crank them out pretty quickly now. I've gotten it down to kind of a science. I've been kind of thinking of making a tutorial on how to do it. I keep getting people asking me like, oh, Chow Mix, how do you draw in the Sonic Adventure style? So maybe potential future video idea. But yeah, I pride myself on my thumbnail art. It's probably something not too many people would do, but like I make unique illustrations for like every single one of my videos pretty much on a weekly basis.
Oh yeah, that's what makes them stand out, especially like humans in Sonic games, how it has like the old man on the thumbnail.
Yeah. The Burger Man. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite ones.
Definitely wacky and unleashed in 2021 with the Dragon Ball art style and the cream with a gun.
Yeah. If I can plug myself for just a second,
and this whole thing is a giant plug.
Yeah. I have an Etsy shop where I sell those thumbnail arts as like posters.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you can just search me up on Etsy. It's just Chow Mix. So yeah, if there's any like thumbnail art in particular that you like, you can order it on a 11 by 17 poster. Something that people have been asking me. So far, I think like the Sonic ice cream one is pretty popular. The one I drew of Sonic free falling with the gun helicopter piece, like the skateboard.
Oh yeah,
pretty popular one. But yeah, if you're interested in that, you can check it out on Etsy.
So, what inspired you to do a Sonic channel? If I had to guess, I would say it seems like you were somewhat inspired by Mazako X, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, actually, I do enjoy Masako X. He's a pretty good YouTuber. I do love me some Dragon Ball, so I do watch his channel a lot.
Same on that regard, even though I don't really talk about Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are closet Dragon Ball Z fans. It's kind of just one of those anime that like everyone knows about and like has probably watched at one point in their life. But yeah, he's probably one of my bigger inspirations. I don't know if you know this channel. He's not really like Sonic related, but Justin Wang.
Oh, I've heard of Justin Wang. I haven't watched his stuff, but I've heard of him. Let me look him up real quick.
Yeah, he's one of my bigger influences. If you like literally just go to like any of his videos, like the format that he uses, like I'm very inspired by it. Like you can obviously see the inspiration. He's got like the background lighting in the back. He records at night. He has like segments where he's on camera and then he shows B-roll.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like that format is like very heavily inspired by that.
The thumbnails kind of remind, well, not really the thumbnails, but the general topic pieces also kind of remind me of Totally Not Mark. because he also does the artwork for his thumbnails, and he does Dragon Ball discussion pieces like these.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that channel. Yeah, that's another channel I binge watch all the time. But yeah, actually, you know what? I think you might be right. I don't think I really thought of it, but I think he is kind of an inspiration. Just the fact that like he draws all of his thumbnails like that.
Yeah. I'm usually good at picking what inspired people to do certain things, and this channel seems like a mixture of Mazuko and Totally Not Mark. But it's great because Sonic needed this. There's so many Sonic channels that are just the news or speculation on the news or something like that. To see a channel fully dedicated to Sonic discussions is great because there's just so much to talk about with the Sonic the Hedgehog fan base. And you're mostly just talking about the franchise, but still, there's so much to talk about there too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's something I noticed kind of before getting in and making my first video is that, like, a lot of the videos were kind of just, like, speculation and, like, rumors and, like, news and potential announcements. And, like, there's not too much substance in those kind of videos. And also, like, those kind of videos get dated so quickly that, like, sure, you can make it and maybe you'll get a bunch of views at the beginning because it's relevant. But, like, who's going to watch, like, will Sonic be at South by Southwest 2021, like, a year from now? Literally no one.
It's throwaway content.
Exactly. Like, I want my content to be as timeless as possible, where, like, 5 years from now, you can still watch it and be like, oh, yeah, he's got a point, and you can still enjoy it. It's still relevant.
And one thing I can appreciate about your channel, and this isn't shit-talking the other guy, but when it comes to people like Cybershell, he tends to make his videos like 40 minutes to an hour long. I appreciate that your videos are anywhere between 10 minutes to 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I do feel like there's like different approaches you can take with those kind of discussion videos. And like I'll be honest, like I do love me some like hour-long, 2-hour-long like analysis videos. Like no offense, but like I fall asleep to those, like in a good way. Like I love watching those and keeping them on in the background and just like falling asleep. But then I'll like watch them later, like the next day. But yeah, like I do like long videos like that. I'm a big fan of Cybershell. Another couple YouTubers are like Game Apologist and Jay's Reviews.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about Games Apologist. It is really similar.
Yeah, those guys though kind of do more long spanned analysis videos that they're usually about like over 30 minutes, and like sometimes my videos will get that length, but I try to keep them like around the 10 to 15 minute mark. Unless it's like something I'm like going super ham on. Like actually this video I'm working on now, I'm actually like outsourcing it to some of my friends to help edit it because it's so big. It's probably going to be over 30 minutes, but yeah, I usually try to keep them like within 10 minutes. I think it's like just bite-sized enough where like you can watch it and be satisfied and have most of your questions answered, and then you can get like another video from me in a week.
Your longest video is your Sonic R video. That is 30 minutes exactly.
Yep.
And I assume that you were playing the PC version of Sonic R from what it looks like.
Yeah, I was.
Have you tried playing that with mods yet? Like, there's improvement mods.
Yeah, I do have that mod. I didn't have it on when I was recording just because I wanted to talk about the vanilla version.
Oh, yeah.
And showcase that. But yeah, I've played the mods for it, and they're pretty good.
Oh, yeah, the one for Mania is really good.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Sonic modding is pretty cool.
They have like a mod that turns all of Sonic R into Sonic Mania levels. Every single level. It's great. It was entered in I think it was the hacking contest last year. I can send you a link to that later.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that. That sounds awesome, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I recorded the Sonic R video, I like literally beat the game 3 times in order to get enough footage because it's so short.
Oh, yeah.
Which is probably its biggest flaw, is that you can beat it in like an hour.
Well, that's the thing, though. When you talk about these obscure games, like, even though people don't want to admit it, Sonic Advance, you have to go out and get like really obscure games and you have to play them through to talk about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, what direction do you plan on taking your channel in the future? Like, is there any big things you plan on doing?
Um, I kind of have this like soft rule with myself where like I don't want to talk about news,
Oh yeah,
but
I can
like
get that.
when the new game gets announced, like I might give my 2 cents on it, but like yeah, I won't be covering like, oh, are we gonna get a new trailer at this event, or like, oh, they just announced blah blah blah. I'll probably keep my channel discussion based, kind of like I'm doing now. My goal is almost always to upload weekly, but sometimes with like these longer videos, like they'll take 2 weeks, like my Sonic R video.
That's still a really good upload schedule. Like, that
Yeah,
means that they get consistent videos regularly, and you have a lot up already. And the editing is
yeah,
pretty
let's
good in all
see.
of them too.
Yeah, I made my first video 6 months ago, so it's already been half a year, which is kind of crazy. My YouTube channel is actually from like 2008. It's just been like my personal channel for the longest time, since like literally the beginning of YouTube. Um, and I've like put videos on my channel, but they were just like dumb like inside joke type stuff with my friends, which I've just like unlisted since. And I've kind of just like dedicated my channel to actually like posting quality content.
I noticed that you did a guitar cover of one of the Sonic songs. Are you gonna do more of those? Any more musical covers, or was that just a one-off?
Yeah, I do want to do more of those every once in a while. The next one that I'm going to do is what is it called? Keys to Ruin, which is the Pyramid Cave song from Sonic Adventure 2. That's probably one of my favorite guitar riffs from the series. But yeah, like every once in a while, I think I'll do those kind of like guitar videos. They would be like supplementary to what I'm already putting out.
Do you plan on covering anything from the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons and comics, or are you just sticking to the games and game media right now?
I mostly stick to the games just because that's what I'm most knowledgeable in. I'm not super familiar with the comics. I did used to get them when I was a kid, but honestly, like it was mostly for the art. Like I really appreciate the cover art of the Archie comics.
Oh, by Spaz, the older stuff.
Yeah, oh man, he's got the best art. Oh, it's so good. Like the Sonic Mega collection had that gallery where you can
Oh
just view all of
yeah,
the art. I
that's
would
how
just spend
most of us got
hours.
introduced.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was like one of the best kind of advertisements for their comic.
They
'Cause,
even
yeah, I
had
don't
they even had the same thing in Japan. So people in Japan, that was probably
knew about the
people.
Archie comics.
Yeah, that was probably their first exposure to the
Yeah.
Archie comics.
Do they translate the comics into Japanese, do you think?
See, I actually don't know. I would doubt it because here in America, we didn't get any of the Japan Sonic stuff. The only
Yeah,
thing we got was the OVA, and that's because some company bought the rights to make a quick buck. It wasn't
right.
for any, like, Sega wanted it here reason. Sega had a different goal in the 90s. Their goal was to have Sonic specialized to each country. So I
Right.
don't think they ever intended us to have Japan stuff or Japan to have our stuff.
It's kind of a weird situation. I think Sonic is kind of not very popular in Japan actually. America is definitely his biggest market. Um,
Sonic was always treated differently in Japan. Like in
yeah.
America, we played up the bad kid with an attitude thing, but in Japan, they had so many different ways that they introduced Sonic. In the OVA, he lived in a post-apocalyptic world full of fucking animal people.
Yeah.
In Sonic X, it was just the games. In the Sonic manga, depending on which one you read, Sonic was a schoolboy who could transform into
Oh,
Sonic the Hedgehog.
right.
It was
Yeah, that's so
wacky.
weird. Yeah.
So I don't blame Japan for not knowing what the fuck Sonic is because they got so
They
many
don't yeah,
different
they don't even
media.
know.
The
Yeah, that's so
Nikki
interesting.
the Nikki manga went on for almost a decade, if I'm not mistaken. So
Oh
that's probably
wow,
their most popular thing for Sonic, and it was
that's
featured in like
crazy.
kids' books, educational material. Like that's probably the biggest Sonic for the '90s in Japan.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was like maybe a one-off type manga. I had no
No,
idea it was that expansive.
it's everywhere. There's like educational books where it teaches you how to read and shit, and there's like three different versions of the Nikki Sonic canon.
Wow.
It's so weird.
Yeah, that's insane.
So you just want to talk about the games. Is there any game you want to talk about going forward that you're really hyped to talk about?
Um, it kind of just depends. Like, I come up with my video ideas like usually the week that I make it. So it kind of just depends on like what I'm feeling. I'm a big fan of the adventure era. So like, if I had to guess, like probably most of my videos are about that kind of era. But like I do like all the eras, like even the modern era. Um, the classic era I like, but I'm like really bad at playing them. I'll
Oh
fully
yeah.
admit.
People who
I'm
get
so
into
bad.
3D Sonic have a hard time adapting to 2D Sonic. It's the same way with my girlfriend. She just can't get used to 2D Sonic at all.
Yeah. Are you a big fan of the classic games, or is that kind of
I got
your
into
zone?
Sonic with Sonic 1 on the
Okay.
Genesis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think my first Sonic game was actually Sonic 2 on the Game Gear. And then after that, I think it was Adventure.
When I was really young, I grew up playing Sonic 2 a lot, and I thought that was my favorite game. But then when I finally sat down and played Sonic 1 and had to learn the mechanics, because one thing that always annoyed me when I was a kid was going through Labyrinth Zone. It was so fucking
Yeah.
frustrating. But when I was a kid, I realized that there are cheats that you can use. Not really cheats, but there's ways that you can get through Labyrinth faster. And if you know how to play Labyrinth, it isn't that big of a pain, excluding the boss fight. It's fucking shit regardless. I can't
Yeah,
defend that.
I think there's like one shortcut where you can basically just skip over all of the water parts of the level.
Yeah, like, that's why Sonic 1 became my favorite game, though, because unlike Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, Sonic 1 was made more difficult. But if you figured out the secrets to it and
Uh,
played it enough, you could get good and then learn how to look better than everybody else when you're playing. And I liked
right.
that experience of it's a slow platformer, but if you get good at it, you can be fast and you can have more
Right.
fun. And I
So
feel
is
like,
Sonic 1 is your favorite of
yeah,
the classic? Oh, okay. Yeah, I like Sonic 1. Marble Zone, is that what it's
yeah,
called?
that's my favorite zone. It's all
I
over
like
my
that one. Yeah,
channel art.
I actually like that zone. I know a lot
Well,
of people shit on it because it's like kind of slower paced, but
people
like I
don't
don't know.
understand the design philosophy of Sonic 1. When it came to Sonic 1, Sonic Team intended you to speed through Green Hill and then need a break. And the second level is always supposed to be your break level. You go
Right.
really fast one level, then a break. Then you go really fast again, then another break. They do it consistently throughout Sonic 1. And I think that not only gives you time to relax and still keep your eye on the game and not just hold right to win, it helps you stay good at platforming. Because I feel like a lot of other Sonic games really goes fully into the automation. They have boost pads everywhere, they have speed ups everywhere, invincibilities everywhere, and I feel like it became less of a are you a skilled platformer and are you just willing to go fast?
Yeah. I do think that like for some of the automation, like at least in the adventure games, like you got some of the loop-de-loops that are just automated. I think those are also they kind of also fall into that category of like giving the player like a slight second of break to just like
I can get it
reorient
there
themselves.
though. I can
Yeah.
get it there because if you had to run through the loop yourself in that game, you'd probably get stuck. The game
Yeah,
isn't the
there's
best.
yeah, honestly, there's like a bunch of fan games out there that try to do non-automated loops and like they're always like really weird like cuz the camera like just like
It's really
completely spins
pointless.
around. Yeah.
The loop is just there as a spectacle. Just
Yeah.
let it play itself there. It doesn't
Yeah,
really
exactly.
matter if you run through the loop yourself or not.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, from the classic trilogy, I'd say that 2 is probably my favorite. I know that a lot of people say that 3 is probably the best, and maybe like the best in the entire series. But like there's just something about it that like I don't know, maybe I have like a short attention span or something, but like if I'm trying to play through the entirety of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, like it's just too much for me. I think
See,
Sonic 2 is like just that perfect length. You can beat it in like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Super replayable.
I'm old enough to where back when I was a kid, we didn't call Sonic 3 and Knuckles Sonic 3 and Knuckles. We just called it Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. And they're two separate games. And I know a lot of people want to put it together and play it as one big game, but I really do feel like the best way to play it is separate and then
Separately.
together. Like, put it
Yeah.
together after you beat Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles and you won a challenge. Then you get Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But I feel like nowadays people go straight into Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And if you're playing Angel Island Revisited, yeah, do that. It's fine. You can save pretty easily in that, and it really takes away a lot of the hassles of the original game. So if you're
Yeah.
playing it via cartridge or emulation, I'd say play Sonic 3 first, then Sonic and Knuckles, then Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because that's the way Sega and Sonic Team intended it after
Right.
they decided to split it into two separate games. Because it's just
Yeah,
too long. It's longer than Mania.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's got so many levels. Yeah, I think next time I play it, I'll do the Angel Island Revisited, definitely.
Oh, that's the preferred way of playing it. You can
Yeah.
add so many little custom mods that make the game just 10 times more enjoyable to play. I have to add in the mod where you play as Sonic 1 and 2 classic Sonic rather than Sonic 3 Sonic. I
Oh,
hate
yeah,
the
that's cool.
sprites.
Yeah, the sprite is so different in Sonic 3. At least in 1 and 2, it's somewhat similar. It's just kind of like a different color palette a little bit. Like, I think the shading is a little different too, but like, it's pretty much the same
They
thing.
changed like his shoe and eyebrow. It's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, it's super minor. Like, you barely can tell.
With
Yeah.
Sonic 3, they wanted it to look more like Donkey Kong Country, and that was like the big thing they were going for, is making it look 3D rendered. Because
Yeah,
that was the thing to do.
I think so. And also, like, the environments, too, are so much more realistic in Sonic 3.
I think it kind of ruins it, and that is like I feel like that's the first game that really doesn't feel like it's Naito Oshima's world anymore. Because I feel like
Yeah.
even though Sonic 2 wasn't made by Oshima, it still kept a lot of the design philosophies of
Right.
Oshima's art style.
Yeah, the entire art direction of the environments in Sonic 2 is probably my favorite. Probably
I
one of
really
the-
like CD. CD is so bright
Yeah,
and
that's
colorful.
that's a really good one too. Pretty much like Sonic 1, CD, and 2 all have that kind of similar Naoto Oshima kind of direction going for it, but then Sonic 3 just throws it out the window and goes for more realistic. I think they were trying to make it like the next big game with the best graphics type thing, which is something that I think they did to maybe appeal to American audiences.
I think it was really just to show off the power of the CD, Sega CD. They really just wanted to push just how much you could do with that peripheral.
Oh, I'm talking about Sonic 3.
Sonic
They
3.
they went like more realistic and like
That was
gritty.
definitely for Americans, because
Yeah,
America
yeah.
loved Donkey Kong Country. I don't think Japan did as much. It was America and the UK
Yeah.
that loved Donkey Kong Country.
I don't think Donkey Kong's really popular in Japan. At least when you compare his popularity in America. So, yeah, and like, yeah, something about like if you just look at like even games nowadays, like a lot of Japanese developed games go for more like an anime or stylized art style, where like a lot of Western games try to go for realism, photorealism, and like that's been a philosophy that's been around even back during the Genesis days with Sonic. And Sonic 3 was developed in the US, and I think there were a lot of US hands on it, so that would probably explain why it's so kind of gritty looking.
Yeah, they were really trying to push 3D in that game. They wanted
Yeah.
Sonic to be fully 3D at one point in its development, but they had to scale it back because it was just
Right.
too ambitious. And they kept trying to put Sonic in 3D, and that was like the big end goal for the 90s for Sega is like, can we get Sonic into 3D? And the final year, 1999, they finally get Sonic into 3D, or 1998, I think, for Japan,
In
but
Japan,
still,
I think. Yeah.
like right at the end, they finally get Sonic in 3D. And then they kind of mess it up later. One thing I
Yeah.
appreciate about your channel is that you only have one video talking about Sonic Forces. I know a lot of discussion channels can't help themselves but just talk about Forces. Like Ellis Mark started a discussion channel, and he brings up Sonic Forces all the fucking time in his. I think it's called Splash Dash.
Yeah.
Just so much Sonic Forces. I'm like, I get it. Sonic Forces sucks. I think we all know it does. It's not good. We get it.
Mm.
I'm glad that you can lay off of that game and just talk about other shit, because there's so much to talk about. Sonic Forces is just a little pebble. Sonic Lost World is just a little pebble in all of Sonic. There's so many good games to talk about. And I noticed you haven't even talked about like Sonic 4 or like the other versions of Unleashed. Like there's still so many modern Sonic games to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. And even like with my Sonic 4 video or my Sonic Forces video, I tried to not just talk about the entire thing. I tried to like narrow it down and focus in on like one specific point that I haven't really seen anyone make a video about, and that was like specifically the villain characters and how they're just like so useless.
Oh yeah, that is a really good point. I'm really glad with your channel though. I like the direction it's going. I think it's really unique compared to other Sonic channels. And for anybody else who hasn't heard of Chow Mix, you need to check him out. He only has 4,000 subs right now, and that should definitely change because these are really good videos.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Is there anything else you want to talk about before we hop off?
I think that might be it, unless you think of something last second.
No, I think I've talked about everything I wanted to. I got all the background stuff I wanted talked about.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for me then.
Hey guys, Dylan here, and today we're doing Pink Bot, and I've got a guest on. Can you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm the Spontaneous Blade, or Blade for short, and I make videos about video games.
So what ended up catching my interest about your channel was your Sonic 1 review. And I'm a really big fan of Sonic 1, and recently I got really hyped over the Sonic 1 HD on the computer, like the Christian Whitehead port being playable on PC. So I've been getting really into Sonic 1 again, and you're doing a whole retrospective on it, analysis on it. So can you tell us about that? What made you want to do that?
So I've been doing YouTube for about I want to say 3 years, but I wasn't extremely happy with the content I was putting out. And so I kind of wanted to give my channel a fresh start. And so I was brainstorming ideas of what game I could start out with to review. And since Sonic is my all-time favorite video game franchise, I thought starting out with Sonic 1 would be the most logical place to start. And
what inspired you to do reviews like that, where you go over the music, you go over the gameplay, you go over the critical reception of it all? What inspired you to do a review split up into sections like that? Because you're doing multiple episodes on this. This isn't just a one and done.
Yeah, so this idea arose sort of from the same just story of just I wasn't happy with the reviews I was putting out, because before I've unlisted all those videos, but I was making just one video reviews and they were about 10 minutes each. But I was finding that I couldn't really fit all my thoughts into one video. And like, I was thinking about making longer videos, but after a while, I would just get so burned out from just making something so long, just focusing on something so long, and it was becoming hard to put out content at a reasonable pace. So then I thought, well, what if I split it into multiple episodes? And so I tried it out, and it seems to be working out. So, yeah.
Okay, you're doing Sonic 1 right now. Would you consider yourself to be rebranding as a Sonic channel, or do you just want to start with Sonic and then move on to other games?
So I'm gonna keep doing Sonic on and off. I do want to cover other games. So I wouldn't say I'm quite like a completely Sonic-focused channel, but I do want to make a lot of Sonic content. I cannot speak right now.
I have the same problems. It's fine.
Yeah, like I want to keep doing a lot of Sonic content because it's my favorite series, but I do also want to cover other games. I think my next review series will probably be on Minecraft. So after I finish Sonic 1, look out for that.
So, in this video, you talked about how certain people didn't know how to play Sonic 1. And
Yes.
do you feel that way about any other Sonic game? If so, which ones? Like, which ones do you feel that reviewers just don't understand?
Well, the short answer is pretty much all of them. I feel like especially the 3D games get a lot of flack for just no good reason, usually because reviewers just don't understand the mechanics or the depth of the mechanics. I feel like especially the adventure games, like, people just don't understand them at all. Those ones I'm most excited to review because I really feel like they're misrepresented just in the industry as a whole.
When it comes to me, I hear people say a lot, and this is like the biggest critique that people who don't know how to play Sonic say. Sonic is a game where you're meant to go fast. And they don't
Yes.
they don't seem to understand that it's a platformer game that
Right.
you can move quickly, but you have to know how to move quickly. If you just run face first into the abyss, you're going to crash. So I don't know why a lot of these people try to go fast on their first go and then end up getting upset because they died. It'd be like running at max speed with Mario and just expecting
Right, yeah.
to win immediately.
Yeah, I actually covered this in the dumb arguments against Sonic the Hedgehog video, where it's just like, it's like reviewers expect that if you just run right the whole time that you should be able to win, when it's just like, is that even a game at that point? Like, what's actually the point of a video game if you're just like always getting the reward the whole time? Because people don't understand that's the reward of getting good at Sonic is going fast. It's not something that you can just do right away.
I feel like the games that balance speed and platforming are the best ones. That's why my favorite 3D Sonic game would have to either be the adventure titles or Colors. Because I
Yeah,
feel like,
for sure.
unlike the other games, they really found a way to balance the speed and platforming. With Colors, you could only boost with Wisp. So that means that you couldn't spam the boost or else you'd run out and then you'd have to move slow. So you'd have to use the boost responsibly. And there was a lot of 2D platforming segments that I honestly feel like didn't outstay their welcome. But when it came to the adventure games, they really balanced out just how quickly you can move. Because I really feel like in Adventure 1 and 2, you really don't move that fast.
Yeah.
So I feel like with some of the Sonic games, they really understood that you need to balance speed with platforming. But with games like Unleashed and Generations and Forces, I feel like they just want you to press the boost button and bash through all the enemies and just dodge the obstacles they throw at you.
Yeah, for sure. I think really that formula with the classic games is just the way to go. That's basically what the adventure games do, just basically in 3D. I feel like Sonic 3 especially does this extremely well, where there are sections where you're basically just holding right, but those are rewards for getting past really tricky platforming sections. I feel like to an extent Sonic 1 does this as well, just not as much.
With loops, yeah. Loops
Yeah.
and the tunnels, those are always just auto speed sections that make you feel good.
Right.
The
Yeah,
Sonic
and
2,
the adventure games have that as well.
Sonic 2 added in the dash panels, which give you max speed, which is also another way of reward. But I honestly feel like that Sonic didn't need dash panels. I feel like dash panels were a terrible idea. I think they work well in the 3D games, because in the 3D games I find myself like having a more difficult time building up speed. But with the 2D games, I really feel like the roll and the spin dash are enough, and you don't need a dash panel.
Yeah, I think I think like later 2D games would sort of balance out the whole dash panel thing, but I think you're right about Sonic 2. Like I love Sonic 2, but I have to admit it's way too easy.
I think
Like,
Sonic 3 overdid it with the dash panels. Like, especially
really?
a Hydro City Zone, there's dash panels everywhere. Like, there's so
Oh,
many.
that is true.
And they're not
That
the
is true.
normal dash panels either. Like, a hand comes out, it grabs you, holds you in place, then dashes you.
Yeah. It's definitely a funny visual thing, but probably didn't need to be in the level when the spin dash exists.
That's my biggest problem with Sonic 3 is it throws so much shit at you that you don't get the platform. Like, you get on these... and people complain about gimmicks in other Sonic games, but Sonic 3 is full of them. In Marble Garden Zone, you have those tops you have to spin on.
Oh, I hate Marble Garden. I think that's probably one of my least favorite zones in that game.
And in the Death Egg Zone, you have to deal with the zero gravity shit where you're flipping upside down. There's other examples too. In Sandopolis, there's the ghost you have to constantly deal with by turning on and off the light. Like, there's so many gimmicks in that game, and people want to complain about gimmicks in other Sonic games. That's why I don't like Sonic 3 as much, because Sonic 3 is full of gimmicks. Like, more gimmicks than Sonic CD is. It's ridiculous. I feel like with Sonic games, Sonic is like Mario. He's good enough to where you don't need to bloat it with other gameplay styles. I feel like just Sonic running and jumping and spinning is enough. I don't think he needs to turn into a werehog. I don't think he needs the boost aliens. I think that he's just good enough to run and jump.
Yeah, I definitely think. I don't know. I think other gameplay styles can work if it's like tied to other characters and if they don't overstay their welcome. I think Adventure 2 does this really well, where like there's plenty of Sonic levels, which are, I guess it's different from Adventure 1 in the way that like Adventure 1, the levels are pretty much verbatim the classic formula just copied to 3D. But then Adventure 2, Sonic's levels are a lot more streamlined, they're a lot faster, and then the other characters sort of fill in that gap where there's a lot of tricky platforming and stuff.
I noticed that when they streamline it to make it faster, it mostly just turns the levels into a straight line. The only time that I would say that the really fast levels weren't just a straight line would be with Heroes. But with Heroes, that was a bad thing because you would end up like getting like thrown everywhere because Sonic moves way too fast.
Yeah, Sonic Heroes is a whole other thing.
I don't even want to play as a speed character in Heroes.
Gosh, I'll have to cover that game at some point. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
But yeah, one of my biggest problems with Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog is that the characters move way too fast. Like, Sonic is...
I think the problem is that the levels just don't accommodate for the speed, and also the momentum is just way too slippery.
Yeah, when it comes to Sonic, I think he should start out slow and build up speed. And once
Yeah.
you start moving fast, you're already at a level of understanding with the level to where you can move fast without falling off of the ledge. But with Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog, you just immediately pick up speed, like right out the
Yeah,
gate.
there's barely any transition. You go from standing still to just zooming.
I feel like the problem is with that game is it almost feels like it took Sonic's R momentum. Like in Sonic R, if you're playing as a speed character, you're just immediately fast, and I don't want that with Sonic. I feel like the main thing people should focus with, and this is what I've been saying in my other podcast, that Sonic should be like Mario, is that Sonic should have a walking animation, and he should walk at first, then build up speed like he did in the
Right.
classic games, because that's a fine formula, and you can transition that into 3D. Fucking Mario
that's-
Odyssey did it.
I mean, that's pretty much what Adventure 1 tried to do. I mean, granted, it was on very weak hardware by today's standards, so there's a whole debate about how well that game has aged, but
I think
I think the blueprint is there at least.
I think with Adventure 1, if you're playing the Dreamcast original, or if you play the Dreamcast restoration mod for DX, it still aged really well. But if you're playing any of the DX ports vanilla, it's shit. It's fucking garbage. Because I hated the game. I hated the game when I first played it, and that's because I was playing the Xbox 360 port, or I was playing the GameCube port, vanilla, and it was terrible. I hate it. Like, these ports are unacceptable, and Sega should feel bad for selling people that shit.
Sega has never been good at just porting in general, but especially PC ports with Sonic games. Like, Generations and Adventure 2 are just a nightmare to get running now.
Oh, yeah, I had to fucking file edit. I had to go into the files and edit that
Yeah.
shit to get it to run on my PC.
Yeah, same here.
And I want it on my PC because that's the only way I play Unleashed now, is through the Generations Unleashed mod.
Right.
And when it comes to modding Sonic games, I think Heroes is one of my favorite ones, because if you get the PC port of Heroes, you can actually mod out the shiny textures on all the characters. You can make them not shiny. And I did that with Sonic 4 as well. I'm like, I hate the shiny texture. They're not made of plastic.
Sonic 4 Episode 1 looks just god-awful. I don't
There's a
know what
mod.
they were thinking.
There's a mod that'll make him normal looking.
I'll need to look into that. I don't think I've ever seen any mods for Sonic 4.
There's not a lot.
Heroes.
There's not a lot of mods for either. They have about as much mods as Sonic R does. Like, Sonic R has
that
5 mods.
That says a lot.
No one wants to mod these games. And Sonic Lost World used to have mods, but like,
Then Forces came out, and then that's just way better to mod.
well, a lot of people ended up deleting their accounts. Like, one of the mods I was looking for a while was one that lets you turn the classic Sonic, and I can't find it anywhere. It's just gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's just gone?
Yeah, the guy who made it deleted his fucking Game Banana account, so
Jeez.
that's just out of the fucking park. I can't play that anymore.
That sucks.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, or are you hyped about anything Sonic related?
I'm just cautiously optimistic about what the heck is going to happen next. The Sonic movie 2, I'm hoping that will be good, because I feel like most of the franchise's reputation is leaning on the movie franchise right now. The Sonic show, no idea. That's just up in the air. Sonic Prime, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And then the next game, absolutely no idea. I have no idea what to expect. I'm hoping they've listened to fan feedback, and I'm hoping they're really taking their time with this one. But it's just really hard to say, because after Forces and Lost World, and Boom, and it's just hard to say.
I really feel like we're not getting any announcements this year, and I'm mad.
We're really not.
I'm mad at the Sonic tubers who keep clickbaiting this shit. because
Yes.
they're
Oh my
making it a
gosh.
1,000 times worse because they're hyping up the kids and the people who don't know any better. And they keep fucking teasing them saying, "Oh my god, Sega's going to announce this here?" question mark, or Sega's going to
Yeah.
do this. And I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Leave Sega alone. Quit teasing this news shit. Just wait for something to get announced. Like,
For real, like.
there's other Sonic shit.
I know, like the lack of news is like probably hard for the channels that like kind of rely on this, but like, don't lie to people in like your thumbnails and stuff. Like, come on.
There's other Sonic shit to talk about, though. They could be talking
Yeah.
about the comics. They could be talking about the lore of the franchise. They could be talking about the old cartoons. There's so many Sonic things that you could talk about, but they'd rather just clickbait and go for the fucking obvious shit where it's like, are they going to announce something here? Sega's having a conference.
Adventure 3 confirmed?
Yeah, fucking these people. Like, I think with Sonic shit on YouTube, it needs a major renaissance because right now people get rewarded for mediocrity. And I used to get mad like over a decade ago when people would get a lot of fucking attention just for doing Let's Plays. But at this point, I'd rather have the Let's Players back.
Right?
Because at least the Let's Play makes you sit down and hook up a game and play it and have some commentary on it. But now, all you gotta do is fucking say Sega's gonna announce something, question mark, and then fucking repeat yourself for 10 minutes, and then boom, there's your ad revenue.
There you go. It's just stonks.
It's just disappointing. Like, with the
Yeah.
Sonic franchise, I'd say I'm not hyped for the next modern Sonic game. I want a Mania 2, if anything. And with the show, I don't know what it's gonna be. And for the new shit, I would say just fucking leave Sega alone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just hard to say right now. Just what the heck to expect. Obviously, as you said, there's been a lot of speculation and clickbait and stuff, but I've just been trying to ignore it all because it's almost never actually true. And yeah, I just really hope whatever the heck the next game is, I don't care what style it is. I don't care if it's 3D or 2D or whatever. Just please make it good for once.
Yeah.
That's all I ask.
That's why I've been fucking preaching. I know my other co-hosts on Club Spin don't agree with me, but I've been preaching they should just go back to being like Mario. Because Mario works. People like Mario. No one's ever said Mario had a rough transition to 3D. Just fucking be Mario. It's easy. Just fucking... Mario has a role now. Mario can build up momentum. He has a run button. Like, how can you not make this work for Sonic?
It's so funny how many things Nintendo's doing now with Mario that, like, Sonic used to do, and they're just doing it so much better.
They even have some Sonic Adventure people working on the Mario games.
Yeah, and then, like, Bowser's Fury, like, Bowser just looks super cool, and, like, there's this friggin' metal music playing, and it's, like, basically Perfect Chaos 2.0. And then it's just, like, Sonic Forces over here with, like, the Sonic Colors final boss for, like, the 50th time.
Mario Odyssey having the really fucking good city level. Meanwhile, with Sonic, we can't get anything like that.
It's just Green Hill again.
Like, I saw this one post, and it was like, what people are expecting from Sonic Prime, and it showed, like, Sonic meeting a bunch of multiverse versions of himself, and they're like, we gotta save the universe, and then it's like, what we're actually gonna get from Sonic Prime, and it's like, man, this sure is looking a lot like Pink Hill Zone, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably it. That's probably what we're getting.
Yeah, and then, like, Classic Sonic comes in, and then, like, they come up with yet another excuse why he's there instead of just, like, sticking to one canon.
I feel really fucking bad because I like classic Sonic, and I think classic and modern can exist side by side, but because how Sega keeps using him, they're just pissing off modern fans, and they're making modern fans want to kill classic Sonic, and I'm like, that's not cool. I want them to exist at the same time, because when I grew up, classic Sonic was dead. Like, he turned into modern Sonic, and they never used classic. So, I'm glad that he's back, and classic Sonic will always be my Sonic, but I really think that they're just finding the best way to piss off the fan base, because like shoehorning him into modern shit just make the modern fans feel like they're not legit and that they have to have classic.
It would have been so easy. It would have been so easy just to make Mania its own thing, and then make Forces its own thing, and then they probably could have focused on the boost gameplay and made it like at least a little bit better. But instead, they felt like they had to put classic in both games.
Well, what I think happened is that Forces is the original game. Forces was in development longer. The Ruby was originally going to appear in Forces, and it was going to be an Eggman creation. They say it throughout the game. Eggman made the Phantom Ruby. Classic Sonic was going to be in Forces. But then when Mania got pitched to them, and they're like, fuck, we can do something with this, they asked Christian Whitehead to change the plot of Mania. Because if you listen to Christian Whitehead's original pitch for Mania, he had a completely different story that had nothing to do with the Phantom Ruby. So I honestly feel like the Phantom Ruby being shoved into Mania and Mania being tied into Forces was Sega's doing and not the original intentions.
yeah, probably.
And through doing that, they made a fucking plot hole in their own game. Because the original story for the game that made it into the cutscenes, that made it into the dialogue, they repeatedly say, Eggman made the Phantom Ruby, Eggman made Infinite. And it's like, what? And then they released a fucking comic book, to explain that the Phantom Ruby appeared and Eggman didn't make it, but Eggman did make it.
Gosh.
Like, I don't think they know what the word prototype means. Like, why couldn't you redub the audio? Like, a prototype means that that's the one that came before the final. So that means that the Phantom Ruby prototypes are his test for the Phantom Ruby final product.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. No fucking sense at all. And I don't know why when people review the Sonic Forces, I've seen 80 fucking reviews for Sonic Forces. No one brings up the fact that the plot makes no fucking sense. Like, not the parts that people complain about, like Sonic being tortured and shit. I'm talking about the actual story makes no sense, because they say Eggman made Infinite, but the comic book says Infinite's just a guy he found. They say
and then episode Shadow goes with the comic, but then the main game is still just completely wrong.
The funny thing is, episode Shadow was made as DLC, so it was made after the game was done. So they went with the retcon for episode Shadow, even though the game contradicts that.
How hard would it have been for them to just like update the game, like after they released episode Shadow? I mean, like, it probably would have been a little bit of work, but like, it's just so painfully obvious how much they retconned just to make their dumb idea work.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like they really don't want Infinite in anything, because they don't know what they're gonna do with him, because he was intended to be a fake creation. Like, he was intended to be like some type of cyborg thing created by Eggman, and not an actual character. And now, since he's an actual character, they're like, fuck, what do we do?
Man.
Because he's the one character right now. He's the one modern character. Like, the character has been introduced in the past few years that's off limits. You can use the Zeddy. You can use a lot of the other shit Sega's introduced, but you can't use Infinite. He's off the table.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of stuff from Sonic Forces probably won't be used again after its reception, because the same thing happened with Sonic 06, where like for a while they just completely stopped using adventure stuff. So I feel like they'll probably do the same thing here.
Speaking of 06, Mephiles is another character that Sega has on the do not touch list.
Right, yeah.
I really think that when it comes... And I know a lot of these end up turning into, like, us just ranting about Sega, but I feel like Sega really needs to just decide what can and can't be used, what can and isn't allowed, what is and isn't canon. Like, they need to sit down and just have a dialogue about this shit, or just reboot the franchise, because...
Yeah, that's what I've been pushing for, because... they're trying to make everything canon, and by doing that, they can't make anything canon. So they just end up using just random crap and just hoping it sticks.
Yeah, I pitched this in a different video. I don't remember which one, but my idea is just do Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 HD, and then everything past Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 is non-canon, and then just start over like Crash Bandicoot. It's like,
That's probably what I would like.
I get that we'd be losing a lot of stuff that way, but do you really give two shits about the Wisp or the Zeddy or the Werehog? Like, what else? What did we get that really stuck? We can't use Mephiles anymore. We can't use Infinite anymore. Is Zavok really worth keeping the old canon around for?
Nobody even likes Zavok, and they just keep using it.
Like, what was introduced after Adventure 1 and 2 that's really worth keeping? Neo Metal Sonic? For the one comic book appearance he's had?
Right, yeah. Like, I feel like if they rebooted, they could probably use stuff from other games, but they would just have to reintroduce them, and then hopefully maybe they could introduce them in a way that doesn't completely suck.
If I was Sega, I would look at what Crash did and do that. Like, have Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2 HD, and then have Sonic Adventure 3. Like, I'm not even an Adventure fanboy. Didn't like the games when I was growing up. But at this point, I just want Sonic to work. And that's the most successful formula they've had for 3D.
True.
So yeah, despite us going on that rant again, I guess I'll ask you, is there any other YouTube channels that inspired you to do Sonic content?
To do Sonic content specifically.
Yeah. Is there any Sonic tubers you like?
I really like Sam. He's called Sam Procrastinates now. He used to be called Sam's Procrastination Station. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't exactly watched like a ton of Sonic tubers. I've mostly watched like other like just variety gaming channels like cover Sonic stuff. I mean, I've been watching your content, and right now there's just not a lot of good Sonic content to go around, I guess. Just because there hasn't been a lot of just stuff in general. But I think what inspired me to defend the games, there were a couple YouTubers. There was Exo Paradigm Gamer. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I really liked his videos on Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. I feel like he defended them really well, brought up a lot of really good points. So I look up to him on how to like really defend your just case on a game, just because he goes so in depth. And then as for inspiration in general, Nitro Rad is a big inspiration for me.
I used to watch him all the time.
Yeah, I love his stuff. I just love how passionate he is about everything he talks about, and I just love just the general vibe of his channel. I think he's probably my main inspiration now. I just really love his content.
Okay, so we talked about how you felt about the franchise, how you felt about the community, how you felt about YouTube, your inspirations and stuff. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
I don't know. I'm making a game.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. It's not super far into development right now, but I'll probably be posting updates soon on my YouTube channel.
Hey guys, Dillin here, and today we are doing another episode of Pinkbot. Today we have Celeste on, and they're going to be talking about their comic Sonic Legacy.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Glad to be here.
So, let me start by saying that if you guys watched my channel a long time ago, you know that we had issues. Well, I don't really hold grudges. I have no issues against Celeste, so just know this is all in good faith. I think more people should be like that, where they're willing to just drop shit and stop being petty. But just know I'm not doing anything nefarious here for the few people who are still worried.
Oh no, well, like you said, I don't have any kind of grudges here. Everything that went down last year was just stupid and asinine.
Yeah, that's just the internet, though. If we move past it, then it's fine. I'm always willing to move past it. With
You're not
people.
allowed to have character growth on the internet. Ugh.
But anyway, on to the comic. I guess I would say what really inspired you to do the comic to begin with? Like, what started the spark of inspiration?
So, with that, because I'm one of the admins of Sonic Paradox, there were some different ideas that were going around for animations at the time to kind of branch out from just doing all the little comedy skits. And we had a few ideas of why don't we do something like a slice of life series on there, like get a kind of a world built up and then just do some animations that are kind of more Sonic centric about the world and not necessarily Sonic run into wall, get hurt, haha. After a while, with a few different writers on there, it started diverging from that into more of a sitcom thing. There were a couple of internal struggles with a couple of the writers who had full pilot scripts ready to go that I still have. And then when we were ready to go, it's like, no, actually, I think all this should be changed. And then just everyone kind of up and left it. I sat there like, well, I like all these ideas I had for the world building, so I want to do something with them. And I thought, well, it keeps branding itself as an animation community, but there's all these talented artists in there who are just posting art and all that. I'm like, why don't we just do a non-animation thing? Like, well, if we get a comic going, because this is around the time where Archie had ended. And so it was right around when IDW was first being announced as well.
If I'm not mistaken, this is like right after the Sonic Forces promotional comics came out.
No, this is probably around the same time period, yeah. Because when I first made the channel and the Sonic Paradox Discord, it was actually on April 1st, 2018. And that's where I'm like, all right, here's all the ideas that I gathered from the other project. Let's see if we could refine them even further and just kind of get a basic world premise laid out first. And then after that, started getting a few people from like a couple IDW groups on Facebook and such. That's where I met Sea Salt back when he was still one of the writers here. And we just started building a little bit of a comic verse, and it's been evolving ever since with all the new people on board.
Okay, so now since we know the origins of the comic, what made you decide to put Tempest in Sonic 1 over introducing Tails or just having Sonic alone?
I remembered earlier on, I don't remember if it was pre-boot or post-boot in the Archie comics where it was rehashing all the Sonic 1 stuff, and it's just...
It was both, actually. Like, they rehashed Sonic 1 several different times, and it's really confusing, because they did it in Sonic X, the comic, they did it in Archie twice, so it's a giant fucking mess, but I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Sonic Genesis, which happened right during the Genesis wave before Sally got turned into a robot.
But the one I was looking at, it might have been post-boot because it was using a classic Eggman design, but it was just Sonic, just nonstop talking the whole time and everything. I'm like, you know what? I kind of wanted someone to bounce Benner off, but I also wanted to keep characters coming in around the time when they're supposed to, like game-centric. So it wasn't me who created Tempest or anything like that. In fact, one of the people who was around for the beginning, he actually joked around, said, add a dolphin. And this was before I actually read post-boot or even knew about the whole time split in Archie. I'm like, hey, that's something I don't really see. And so the others just, started adding to it. So, like, it never was really my idea, hey, let's add a dolphin chick or anything.
Oh, that's weird. I always figured that you were a fan of Archie because there were dolphins in Archie, and they do kind of look like Tempest.
See, I grew up with the earlier Archie stuff. Like, the first comic issue I had was the Sonic First, I think. That was like a mini compilation of some of the first issues. And then I went cold turkey, didn't have anything for like 10 so years. I was back in high school, and I would go to like Barnes & Noble all the time, God rest its soul. And they would have like the Archie comics there. I'm like, okay, you know what? I remember having that first one. I'm going to start buying them again. And then once Barnes & Noble closed down, I wasn't real. It's not Barnes & Noble, Borders.
Oh,
Noble
okay.
still exists. Borders is the one I
Because I'm like, I think Barnes and Nobles is dying, but I don't think it's dead yet.
Yeah. But then I went like for another break after that. And then I don't know, when I was with my ex and everything, and we would go to the Barnes and Nobles close to the house, they still had more Archie, but this was post-boot continuity. I'm like, oh, okay, they're covering Unleashed now. I didn't even know that there was a split.
Yeah, it's a big fucking mess. Basically, when the whole Ken Bender shit went down, they had an option to either do a full reboot and reset everything, or do a kind of reboot and get rid of all the Ken characters. So
Yeah.
they did that, and they got rid of all of Ken and other people's characters, and then they kind of kept things the same, but because they didn't have any direction for the story, they just went with, fuck it, we'll do the games.
Yeah, I had to do a lot of research after that revelation came to me, because I thought, man, I am behind on everything. So that was a lot of cram reading, wiki diving, and just going back and ultimately rereading all the issues, which I'm still working on doing.
The best, if you have to do it, the best way to get back into Archie is with the Mobius encyclopedia. Like, they released an Archie encyclopedia, and that's probably the best resource, because that's what most of the wikis source from, is the encyclopedia that they made.
Makes sense, yeah. I still ultimately want to read through them all that way, just like have the full experience there, but sometimes I could only take so much pre-boot at a time.
Well, it's not even just that. It's like, to read through all of them, you either have to get the Archie re-releases, which is what I'm starting to do. I'm starting to get all the compilation re-releases. I think it's called Archie Archives. You can either get that, where they put the specials and the fucking spin-off comics in, or you have to go to fan websites where they tell you the order every comic should be written, and then you have to go out and look for the mainline issues, the spin-off issues, and the super specials, which all, like, intertwine with each other. And then when you get to Universe, it gets even stupider.
Yeah, because I haven't actually read any of the Universe issues yet. Wasn't Universe basically just all the stuff going on, like, just from different characters' perspectives?
Yes, and I was actually going to ask you if you guys had any intentions of doing that at some point with Legacy later on, because I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of different focuses.
Actually, we already started, it's kind of a silly name because it's focusing on the role instead of characters, so it's called Mobius Legacy, but we actually have the first issue released, which is kind of a prequel to how everything's set up. It was Eggman's backstory for this universe and how he started down his path of who he is.
Oh, that's released as a comic?
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the website. We migrated from Tapas because the voice director that we have on the team was also a college grad website designer, and she offered, hey, I feel like making you guys a website. I'm like, okay.
Well, that's great. I'll have to check out that comic. I didn't see that one. I think Jesse might have reviewed it, but I don't always do everything with Jesse.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him cover that. The only thing I've seen him do lately was like a revisit on the 5 issues.
Yeah, since I've been down here in California, I haven't really been able to record with him much. But
Plus, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, how did you feel about the reception from the comics? Like, what is the feedback from the comics you've released so far?
It's mostly positive. Like, if you're looking at, let's say, the YouTube where we have the dubs on there, there's a lot of people who like it. There's some people who are asking, like the obvious questions because the issues aren't fully out yet. So there's questions that'll be answered later. I mean, yeah, some people feel like she's a Mary Sue character, but in reality, she's really not. We've even been downplaying her a lot. The only reason why people think she's stronger than Sonic is we're starting Sonic off not knowing all of his modern abilities, and it's things that he learns and grows into as he goes.
Yeah.
Because it's just a reboot starting from the very beginning. This is when he first left home on his adventures.
So what made you guys want to use Omelette as one of the villains? Was it because of the Sonic Mania hype that had just happened? Or...
Yeah. It was.
Okay.
It really was. It wasn't just me who brought it up either. Some other people brought it in. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just go ask the person who made the design. I'm like, hey, some people on the team wanted to introduce her and include her. What do you think on that? He's like, yeah, go ahead, do it as long as there's permission given. So everything we've released, we throw over to him. We credit her in descriptions.
Well, that seems to be the thing with a lot of projects. A lot of them want to work Omelette in some way. I've seen so many. The Sonic 4 remake that has Omelette in it.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, someone's doing a Sonic 4 remake, but they're making it Genesis styled. That has Omelette as the villain. And they had Omelette appear for one issue of the Archie continuation.
Oh, that one. Yeah. I think that was Mobius Legends. They were considered non-canon, but kind of what-if situation.
Yeah.
I know that one.
And so a lot of people have been working in Omelette, so I wasn't shocked that you guys did. So many people at the same time all wanted to put Omelette in something.
Oh yeah, I thought it was something that was a character with a lot of fun potential. Like just all the different directions that you could take it. There's a lot of fun stuff we have planned that I'm not, quite ready to spoiler yet, but it's not going to be, none of the characters in Legacy are one-dimensional. Like, we actually want to be able to explore the character personalities and how they would react in environments instead of as safe as Sega's been playing with their property for the past 10 years.
So, when you introduce the Freedom Fighters, are they going to be more like their original selves, or are they going to be more like their reboot selves? Because they were basically different characters in the reboot continuity.
They're probably going to be different from both, because when you think about both continuities there, they grew up the way they did because of Eggman. Like in the pre-boot universe, you had basically Mobotropolis fell and they live guerrilla tactic warfare all their lives. Whereas in this, none of that ever happened. They're not freedom fighters. We still want to include the characters and figure ways that we could have them work with the world. It's just they would be very different from their other counterparts.
Okay, well then I guess if this is a spoiler, you don't have to answer it. But how will Bunny work into it? Because like when it came to the anti-universe, they had to work some way to get Bunny to have robotic parts. In the reboot continuity, they had to have Bunny get her robot parts back. How is Bunny going to get robot parts if robotization isn't a thing?
That'll kind of be subtly covered in the next couple of issues. That one's going to be around issue 8 when things hit the fan.
Okay, because I was wondering, because each continuity handles Eggman turning characters into robots differently. In IDW, he infected them with a liquid metal virus. In the British comic, in Fleetway, he literally just locked them inside of a robot. And in Sat AM, he had the roboticizer. So the way Eggman turns animals into robots is like defining for each continuity.
Well, since it's not really a spoiler, the issue already came out. That's kind of covered a little bit in ML1 with Eggman's backstory. What we did was we based his previous self based off what he said at the end of Sonic Adventure 2, how he looked up to his grandfather Gerald, wanted to be a great scientist and things like that. And that's how we started him off and everything, working on renewable energy, prosthetics, other things like that, and just, being one of the high ends of science in the scientific community. Sorry, my English is just all over the place today. I'm not.
Yeah, it's fine.
Really. But we also tied in a little bit of an abandoned season 3 plotline with Nicole, because when I was wiki diving and everything, apparently how they were going to introduce where Nicole came from was she was a Mobian who died and got uploaded into basically a robotic frame.
I think that's what they went with in the Archie reboot continuity as well.
I thought it was actually a different character.
No, I was pretty sure that Nicole had, like, actual Link's family, and,
yeah, Dr. Elodie.
Yeah, and that she was an actual Mobian, which it completely contradicts the original Archie continuity, because in the original continuity, she was created by Eggman in the future, and then Rotor reprogrammed her to be a good computer, and then sent her back to the past to help everyone win. So
Yeah.
that completely contradicts that, unless Eggman like put her brain into a computer, but then she'd be from the future, not the past, but whatever.
Yeah, with ML1, basically, she's a little kid who's suffering a terminal illness from NIDS. NIDS is actually going to be a bigger factor in Legacy also, like with several characters and plot points. But he decides, you know what? I inherited all this info from Gerald before, like not all the Project Shadow stuff, but the stuff he was originally working on. He's like, I think I could possibly finish it and cure her. So he's trying to research chaos energy and everything, but he can't get his hands on chaos emeralds because all the Gaia temples around the world are like sacred shrines and he doesn't have access. So he eventually builds like a little drone to break in, study the emerald, gather readings, things like that. Well, she's terminally ill and the move to Mobotropolis taxed her too much. So basically she's on her last legs. He's like, I need more time. And he's like, what if I make a robotic shell that could preserve her, but like keep her sentient at the same time? So he's on a trial with basically the equivalent of the United Nations, which is that Council of Mobius that was mentioned in issue 1.
Yeah.
Because the Guide Temple leader, which you'll find out is Lupe's father from the Archieverse,
Yeah.
he's saying that he broke in and stole the emerald, which he technically never did. And so when it started him just talking about how everything led up to that, they're hooked on the story and they're like, so you managed to save her and everything. He's like, I'll do you one better. And in walks in this large bipedal suit that's kind of inspired by those hovercrafts in Sat AM, with her just tethered into it like one with the machine. And he starts talking about how basically as long as it's active, she's preserved and it's in its infancy and sentience. So far, all it could do is walk around, be aware of the surroundings. But he's like, future models could possibly be like normal suits that everyone could wear. And with it, we could fight sickness, famine, basically later on inequality, conquer death, and just the council's mortified by him basically playing God. Basically gets rejected out of the room, stripped from the council and everything, its funding taken away, Nicole taken away, which kills her in the process because she wasn't able to live without it after that.
Yeah.
So basically, he's like, why won't they accept this and everything? I'm only trying to help better, like, society and everything. And then he realizes, kind of remnant readings and everything, and he's like, what if it's chaos energy? What if there's more emeralds? What if I could continue this line and I could just reboot the slate? I could make everything perfect. So his whole starting off gathering the emeralds is about an 11-year time frame where he's secretly building the Death Egg in space, gathering DNA samples of all classified organisms. Basically, his plan is to literally reboot the slate, kind of Titan AE. Just wipe everything out and reboot it under his jurisdiction.
Oh. So he's trying to enact chaos control like he did in Archie.
Kind of, yeah, but it would like completely genocide all life.
Oh, okay. So it's more like Halo. Because in Archie, Eggman would try to rewrite reality by using Chaos Emeralds to enact chaos control. But in Halo, they had a device that would just wipe out all life. And they would try to re-clone it and bring it back.
Yeah, kind of like that. See, I've only played Halo 1 and 2. I don't know anything about the bigger universe. But yeah, that kind of fits there.
Yeah. Just to help me understand what's going on.
But there's also a lot of unknown variables that Eggman couldn't factor in for also, which will be here within this arc. Like, we all know about Supersonics going to come up and everything. Well, that's an anomaly that no one really knew about.
Okay, so, what, if you could, what are some things you want to do in the future? You can say it vaguely, but what are some goals you want to accomplish with the comic?
Well, the main goal is just kind of retelling all games together as if it's just one unified universe instead of the whole back forth and everything that it's been doing, because no one has any real consistency and they just keep saying, well, Azuka said 2 worlds even though all of the classic material was 1 world. So it's just like, I don't know.
The funny thing is,
Azuka was a good public manager.
I actually, thanks to Ken Penders, and I don't like Ken Penders, but thanks to him, I found I found material dating all the way back to the 90s that references the two worlds idea, but it references it in the most balls to the wall insane way. And I hope you're ready for this, because this is fucking wacky. But he had the original pitch for SatAM, the original Bible for SatAM. And in the original Bible for SatAM, Sonic is on Earth, California to be exact. And he's telling his grandkids or kids about the stories of SatAM. And that's the premise of the original story, is that Sonic is an old man on Earth. And he's telling the kids about the far-off planet of Mobius.
Yeah, that is pretty whack.
So it's weird that dating all the way back to the early 90s, someone was thinking of the two worlds concept. But from every Sega document I've read, they didn't think of two worlds. It was just one world.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Like, in any Sega official material, I haven't seen anything to really back that up. Like, from Sonic 1 all the way up to 06, it's always been one unified world. That's been continuing a trend of the story.
Well, the Holy Grail would be the Sonic X Bible, because with Sonic X originally it was going to take place on the animal world. It was going to have animal people. But then Sega stepped in and reminded them that they have to adapt the games. So there had to be humans. So like the story had to fit more in line with the games. So that's when they changed everything. So that means that Sega gave them some type of document that told them what is canon in the games. So if that ever got leaked, that would be really fucking useful. But none of the current Sega Bibles have been leaked. We have vague info from them, supposedly, but we don't have any actual leaked documents. Like, one of the things that got leaked from the documents is that Sonic travels between worlds on a rainbow bridge. I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't know if it's supposed to be like Thor.
Been seen anywhere.
I know. I don't know if it's supposed to be like Thor, how he has the fucking Bifrost Bridge or what. But that's what was said, supposedly, in these Sega documents.
The only thing that remotely backs that up is the level transition in Sonic Advance 3.
Yeah. And the Sonic Colors.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, well, that was literally just interplanetary, not like interdimensional, whereas Advance 3 was interdimensional.
Yeah, they've shown a rainbow bridge a couple times in Sonic, so I don't know if that's canon or not. I don't know what is canon with Sonic. All I know is that
everything and nothing.
Some stuff got leaked from the documents a while back, and that was one of them, is that Sonic can travel with a rainbow bridge, and that Sonic is from another world. They've never said another dimension, so I'm able to believe the Sonic movie premise of Mobius, or whatever Sonic's planet is called, is just another planet in the universe.
Yeah, like you said, it would be really beneficial if any of that information could have been released. In the meantime, I'm just going with what I have visually been able to see in the games. Actual hard material.
Ian Flynn's writing a character, he's writing an encyclopedia for Sonic that should be releasing this year. I don't know if they gave him actual information or if he's just going to have to use the sources that are public, but hopefully we get some answers.
Yeah, I'm really curious to read that when it comes out.
That's what makes Sonic world building hard, though, is because we have to use the resources that have been given to us, because Sega has kept so much shit private about Sonic.
And that's why it's so radically different in everything that you read, or any official continuities like Sonic the Comics, SatAM, Archie, IDW, the games. It's all different universes.
Well, yeah, because Sega allowed America to make a completely different canon story for Sonic. And
it's a true Sonic.
I make fun of Japan's story a lot. I've mentioned it to people. Japan released a promo comic depicting the canon story to Sonic the Hedgehog. And in that story, Eggman's one goal was to steal the Chaos Emerald to boil a giant egg. That was his big motivation. That was his big goal. So
I knew about the Sonic manga that had like its own family for Sonic, the whole Nikki Palooza thing.
well, that was never meant to be canon. The Sonic story, it's called the Sonic Story comic manga or something like that. It has a really stupid name because Japanese, but it's full color. It has Sonic being a rock star in it. It has a lot of the stuff that was supposed to be canon to Sonic, and it retells all of Sonic 1 in like 3 mini issues. And in that retelling of Sonic 1, Eggman's one big goal is to steal the emeralds to cook an egg. That's his goal.
Sounds pretty Japan to me.
Yeah, it's a really weird story, and the only reason why Sonic hates Eggman is Eggman ruined his concert. And then they fight forever because of that.
I don't know, that's kind of funny in retrospect, though.
Yeah, that's what Japan wanted. And then when America got its own continuity granted, that's when they came up with the whole Kintobor stuff. But then they didn't even use the Kintobor stuff. No one used the Kintobor stuff. Only fucking England did.
Yeah, I was about to say.
None of the American licensors bothered to even touch it at all. And there was like so many different continuities. Like, Adventures of didn't mention Kintobor. Fucking Sad AM didn't mention Kintobor, and neither did Archie.
Yeah. Archie did.
Archie did, but that was, like, after Ian Flynn, and that's what they called Anti-Robotnik afterwards, I think,
sure about
maybe.
That?
I don't know. If they mentioned...
Because it was supposed to be of the House of Kintobor and everything, like...
Oh, yeah, they did use the name. Yeah, they used the name Kintobor.
Yeah, like all his relatives that were like overlanders that he basically turned into metal statues because overlanders don't roboticize. Yeah, they were Kintobors also, weren't they?
Yes, I actually do remember that. I think they were Kintobors and then he changed his name. If I'm remembering right. I could be wrong.
I think so.
But I know his family is deeply important to the Archie universe because his family is the whole reason why the Mobians exist to begin with.
Yeah, because of the whole Zorda visitation back when it was still Earth. Hey, let's dissect this alien. Pissed them off and just got gene bombed.
Yeah, Archie continuity is convoluted, but it's still something. At least it's a concrete fucking explanation of why there's...
It's out there, but it bothered to explain itself.
The only, like... It's so confusing because I have to explain to people that there are 3 different animal species. There are regular animals that are just normal, non-walking, talking animals. There are Sonic and Friends, who are anthro animals. And then there's the fucking animal buddies or animal friends, like Flickies, Peckies, Pockies. They're magical creatures from another world. So it's weird.
That's something that we were going to eventually get to in Legacy too, is that there's the different type of animals, like your normal animals and stuff. And it all just has to do with how chaos energy affected evolution.
Yeah, because with, and this is canon, if Sonic 3D Blast is canon, Flickies can travel between dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
So, Flickies are definitely magical in some way, and they're drawn to Chaos Emeralds, so... It's weird that Sega has all this shit and they're not using it.
Yeah, there is a massive world already built for Legacy and like all of the different machinations. It's just, it's going to take so long to actually be able to breadcrumb through the issues because it's one of those things that you want to show, not tell. You don't want to have any kind of exposition dump on all of it.
Oh, yeah, I get that. So, is there anything else you want to talk about the comic or the characters? Like any experiences you want to talk about?
Wow, that was butchered English. I've been seeing people wonder when Tempest is going to show up next, and I keep telling them it's going to be a while. Like, she'll be a recurring character, but it's like she's not always going to have screen time.
Oh, yeah, I can get that, because she was just meant for Sonic 1.
Like, it's not really a spoiler. The next time I believe she's going to show up is going to be Fighters, but then after that, no clue. Like, I haven't future planned her stuff after that yet.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a fun arc. It's going to be the last of the classic ones.
I was wondering if you knew that Sega Sonic the Hedgehog was a prequel to Sonic 1, or...
Yeah, the one with Mighty and Ray.
Yeah, so are they already in continuity, or are they not going to be in continuity with your comic?
They're in continuity, but we don't have a fully clear definition of how we want them started off yet.
Okay, because they take place before Sonic 1, so it's very confusing.
Yeah, like, I know Sonic CD is supposed to technically take place between Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, but for consistency and storytelling for ours, it's going to be after Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, I always figured, and I was proven wrong plenty of times, but when I was a kid, I always figured that Sonic CD took place after 3 because Eggman didn't use any of the other metal robots. He only continued to use Metal Sonic.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I'm willing to accept Metal Sonic was made for speed, Mecha Sonic was made for strength. They each have things that the other lacks. So I can accept that they're evolutions of each other.
That's actually what we wanted to do in Legacy with them also, is that all the different mechas, like, I had to look up the concept art documents because the Metal Sonic that you fight in Sonic 2 on the Death Egg is also called Mecha Sonic. Like, fans dubbed it Silver Sonic because there wasn't an actual
Sega gave him a name now. It's Robo Sonic.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
a
going to
stupid
stick with
name.
the original concept docs of Mecha Sonic, and we just call him Mark 1, and then the Sonic and Knuckles one is Mark 2.
The name Mecha Sonic is just thrown around everywhere, and so many different characters are called Mecha Sonic. It's just confusing.
Archie also had the roboticized Sonic called Mecha Sonic.
They had Metal Sonic called Mecha Sonic too at one point.
Yeah, that was for the 25th issue one, because we recently recorded that on our channel. Yeah, they called Metal Sonic Mecha there as well.
Yeah, they just couldn't keep up with shit. Hey guys, Dillin here, and today we're doing another Pink Bot. Today we have another guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name's Eldrin. Thank you so much, Dylan, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I ended up watching Eldrin's channel because of four very similar videos involving Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. That being the concept art videos, which I hadn't seen another video like that at the time. I had done quite a bit of videos way back when of going over Sonic concept art, and I want to revisit that concept one day. But I really liked how you covered the Sonic concept art from Adventure 1 and 2.
Thank you. I'm actually, the feedback on those was really positive. So I'm actually planning to make that like a huge series on my channel now. I'm in the middle of working on a Heroes one. But yeah, I do a lot of like game development, and I do a lot of Sonic, but I'm planning to also branch out a little bit into like some other franchises I really like. Like I'm a big Dark Souls guy. And I also like a lot of the Halo games, so I was planning on doing those. But Sonic's always going to be like my main focus, and so I do a lot of the in-game like development because it's not a lot really covered on Sonic, and it's something I've always found incredibly interesting. And so like I went and I was researching a lot, and I always found it cool with the Sonic franchise how like. The games always, at least for the most part, up until like 2010 or 2011. Not saying the game, but they always pushed the limits the consoles had graphically, and I always thought it was interesting how the concept art translated to 3D, especially with the adventure era, where those were highly graphically intense games at the time. And so I always thought it was cool how those translated, and I kept on looking into it, and I was like, wow, this is like super interesting. So.
Yeah, I've always really liked the old Sonic concept art because it shows you what that character was meant to be at their core. Because with Shadow, if you go all the way back to his beginning concept art, you see that he was literally just a black Sonic. He was just Sonic with a scar on his eye and a cape, and he was the most stereotypical evil Sonic. And it's nice to see how they kept beating that design until it turned into the shadow we have today. Or if you go back to Rouge the Bat, her early concept art really looks like Lara Croft. And that's really essential to her character, because she kind of is Lara Croft with the whole treasure hunting and wanting to steal ancient artifacts. So it really does help you understand her character to know, yeah, she was inspired by Lara Croft, even if Sega isn't on record saying that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely cool seeing that, because like you were saying, some of the through her evolution of designs, they really were hitting that home. And I always found shadows cool, especially not like the Terios one. I mean, that's always a given for most people. And it's cool, don't get me wrong. But some of the other ones were really interesting. Like the one, he has like a red eye in one of them.
Oh, yeah. The ones that look like Mephiles.
Sound super weird. Yeah, exactly. Like Mephiles. So,
I'm really sure that when it comes to Mephiles, they went back and used Terios designs to get inspired for him. I really feel like that. I feel like that when it comes to, like, Sega, they do go back and use old ideas that they didn't use before. Because, and this is something I've said for a while, and no one wants to believe me with this, but I really feel like Sonic Lost World was Sega taking a lot of their game Sonic Extreme and making it like into an actual game. Same thing with Sonic Colors, because in Sonic Colors, the aliens are called Wisp. Meanwhile, in Sonic Extreme, there was also going to be creatures called Wisp.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In Sonic,
I didn't know that, huh?
In Sonic Extreme, one of the storylines is going to be that the Master Emerald was broken and 7 deadly creatures come out. And that's very similar to or 6 deadly creatures. They couldn't make up their mind. And that's similar to the Deadly 6. So it just really is funny how this just works around. And when it comes to the Deadly 6, they're all different colors, like the Chaos Emeralds. So chances are they were actually intended to be the creatures from the old Sonic Extreme concepts. And with how the levels are built in Sonic Lost World, it is really similar to what they wanted to do with Sonic Extreme, with there being like loops in the air, and it's all like isometric platforming. And that's why I don't really agree with everyone's agreed notion that it's just Mario Galaxy, because it's so obviously inspired by Sonic Extreme. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I looked way too much into Sonic Extreme.
No, honestly, that's a really good point. And Dylan, funny you mentioned Extreme, because I was on Twitter the other day, and I actually saw a piece of concept art they were going to be using for like a Metal Sonic.
Oh, there were so many different Metal Sonics. I have the theory, and this isn't confirmed, but I have the theory that all of them were going to be Metal Sonic, and he was going to be able to transform throughout the game.
That would be sick. Honestly, dude, I would love that if that ever like came out or ever happened again. Like that would be so cool.
Because in his previous game, he did transform. In Knuckles Chaotix, he transformed. And then in Sonic Heroes, he also transformed. So it's not out of the question for Metal Sonic to gain a new transformation. Oh yeah, and in Sonic the Fighters, he transformed.
Oh yeah, because he gets that like huge cone head. Yeah, I forgot about that.
You never fight him, by the way. You never fight fucking weird cone head Metal Sonic.
That's a classic Sonic Team moment, though. Show it, but they never let you actually, delve into it. But yeah, I played that game a lot when I was younger. On the I forgot which one it is, the Mega or the Gems.
Yeah, it's Gems for that one.
Gems. Yeah, I played that like way too much, to be honest.
That's another game Sega refuses to port. They won't port it again. If you don't have the 360, you can't fucking play that. Even though, because it's on 360, that means that it is Steam compatible. And they could just drop it on Steam, but they haven't for some reason. So I'm going to have to emulate it somehow from MAME.
After actually hit me up about that. But I have it, so for PC. But You, yeah, I would just cut that part, to be honest. But for real though, if you do need it, just let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't played Lost World myself, but honestly, like my friend actually 100%ed it, and he like really enjoyed it, and I have it on Steam. I just haven't actually like played it yet, and I'm really excited to delve into that at some point, because like I got out of the franchise like around Unleashed back in '08, so like a lot of those games forward, except for Forces and Mania, I haven't played, so I'm excited to see how those are. And it's funny you mentioned about fighters on Steam and everything, because the same thing with Heroes. Like, it's literally like they have a PC port on Heroes. There's widescreen. There's everything you can mod in. It would take all of like 30 minutes to just drop onto Steam with a 1080p plus filter. You know what I mean?
That's not even the only game, though. Fucking Sonic Heroes, Sonic Riders, and Sonic R all have PC ports, competent PC ports that I have modded to work on widescreen HD TVs. So there's no reason. And when it comes to Sonic R, the PC version can be the most superior version out of all of them, even the console version, because the console version, if you didn't know this, was actually unfinished. There were elements that were intended to be in the original Saturn version that didn't get in, but did get in to the PC version. And there's elements that were taken from the PC version and perfected in the GameCube version. But thanks to mods, we can upgrade the PC version to be better than the GameCube version and have the lighting from the original Saturn version.
God bless mods. So many games at this point, especially for the Sonic series. Like one of the biggest lifesavers for me, and I'm a huge adventure fan. A lot of my channel focuses on the development of the adventure games and all that. And I actually just recently modded, and this may be a basic thing. I don't really know, but I just modded the Lightspeed Dash to its own button on SA2. Oh my god, it makes it so much smoother. Like, you can't believe it.
I really haven't played the adventure games too much. I'm trying to get into them. I've got the Dreamcast conversion mods, but I really just need to take a few days where I beat them 100% and just really enjoy them. One of the games that I've been replaying is Sonic Advance. Like,
oh yeah.
I found a custom Game Boy emulator that allows me to blow up the game to my TV's max resolution, and I found a filter that removes all the graininess from it and like redraws all the pixel art. So now I can play that game and it doesn't look as shitty, because someone was making a PC port. Someone was making a PC remake of the game, but that was like 3 years ago and they still haven't updated it. So I'm like, this isn't going anywhere. And it was a cool idea too. They were adding in like Shadow and Blaze, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't going anywhere.
I actually played that on stream recently, and yeah, it's super fun. I'm a huge Advanced fan. It's been forever since I played them though, but like honestly, I think Advanced 3 is one of my all-time favorite games actually, and it's one of my first games too, and yeah, there's a lot of like untapped potential with the team up mechanic in that. And I'm thinking of covering them relatively soon on the channel, but once I get a little bit further, because I wanna do Heroes, and then I'm gonna do Shadow a little bit, because I like both those games a lot, because I grew up with them, and there's actually a lot still that's not a lot of people have really discussed, which I think is worth discussing, because like a lot of those kind of games, like they just get written off because it's like, oh well, Shadow has a gun, but there's actually a lot of cool stuff in them. Like the soundtrack is one of the I think Shadow soundtrack is one of the best in the.
Oh, I use it all the time in my videos.
Yeah,
I haven't heard any fucking Sonic Trooper talk about this, and I might do a series about it. But there are mods for games that you wouldn't think. There are HD mods for Shadow the Hedgehog on Dolphin, and it replaces all the textures, and it makes the game look more like Sonic Heroes. And there are gecko codes that you can enter into the game to make Shadow control more stable, like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2.
Oh yeah. They actually have one of those for Heroes. There's an HD texture pack. Some guy went in, and forgive me, I don't remember the actual like the name of the guy, but he went in and did single-handedly photoshopped like each
Yeah.
one of the textures.
I got
I've
that
been
one.
using it. Yeah.
I got that
Nice.
one, and I got the one that removes the shininess from the models. Because I always hated how shiny the models were in
Oh, what?
Heroes.
You don't like the gloss? Oh, I love the gloss.
It irritates me. It's the reason why I
Oh,
just
yeah.
couldn't deal with Adventure DX until I found out about the Dreamcast conversion. I just...
Yeah, it's. No, go ahead.
I get annoyed by Sonic looking like rubber. Even when I played Sonic 4, I had to mod it. Even though Sonic 4 is shit, I had to mod it to make it look better.
I'll tell you. Oh my god. I have a funny story about that. So, like I said, I was out of the franchise from 2008. So I missed Sonic 4 basically completely. And I went back and I never played the Genesis games until last year, and then I replayed them for the channel, which are some of my first videos. I actually want to go back and kind of do a redux on them because there's some stuff I want to touch up on and stuff like that. But I went back and I played the Genesis games, and I was like, yeah, these are great. Everyone, I 100% agree with everyone that is saying these are great. And then I played Sonic 4, and well, oh my god, that was the worst game I've ever played. I've never thrown my controller at a Sonic game before, let alone, well, many games, but, like, dude, I almost broke my PS4 controller during the special stages on that thing. I had to get the 7 emeralds for that, I had to, like, sit there and then, like, pause, unpause, like, frame by frame, just because it's so jank with the bumpers, and I'm
They
someone that
fucked
normally...
up the Sonic 1 special stages, and it irritates me because I'm a big fan of Sonic 1. It's my favorite game out of the franchise. It's the game I grew up with. It's the game I care about. And they really fucked up just the basic movement of Sonic 1, and they make you pay to go into other parts of the arena, and that is so ass backwards and misses the entire point of the momentum system implemented in the special stages in Sonic 1.
I agree. Yeah, they're an absolute mess. And then, like, branching off of that with the physics, and then the physics, and then you bump into something, it just shoots you across the whole stage, basically.
The physics are fucked in that game. Like, it's trying to emulate physics rather than having physics.
I read about this, and it was I didn't know this, and it was actually kind of funny, but at least I thought. But the reason why it's so bad and looks like absolute shit is because it was supposed to be a mobile
It is, yeah.
And you can actually I whatever the name of the stage is, I forgot, because when I did the video a couple months ago on it, but the Casino Night ripoff. If you go into that, you can go in the background and look, and it still says Sonic the Portable in the background, but they just have it blurred out on one of the billboards. So, like, just to show how much effort went into that, it's ridiculous.
It was probably meant to be like Sonic Pocket Adventure. With Sonic Pocket Adventure, it was just a pseudo remake of Sonic 2. But it used music from Sonic 3, changed up the level design, and it's Dimps that made it too. It was like Dimps' first Sonic game. So the fact that they would want to go back and revisit that idea and do it again for a portable device is good. And I have bought Sonic 4 Mobile, and Sonic 4 Mobile is actually slightly better than Sonic 4 console. Because the over-shininess isn't in the mobile port. The mobile port, Sonic looks fucking normal. In the mobile port, the graphics aren't as irritating looking because they're flat 2D sprites. They're not actually 3D. And Sonic controls a little better because it's just a fucking phone game. Like, you don't expect him to have perfect physics. You don't expect it to run that great because it's a phone game. But when it's on my fucking Steam and it's running at 60 FPS, I expect it to be good. I expect it to feel good, but it doesn't. And it gets to the point where I'm like, yeah, the best console version to play is the fucking Wii version, because the Wii
you screwed up if that's the best version.
There is a mod though, and I need to do videos talking about the best way to play X game, because there is a mod for Sonic 4 that replaces Sonic's color palette with Sonic Unleashed color palette, and it gets rid of the shininess from him.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my big peeves, is getting rid of the shininess from every Sonic model.
I could definitely see that. I could see how that could definitely be annoying. I think, going back to what we were saying about Heroes, I think it's just because I grew up with the gloss. That's why I like it. But I definitely understand why not a lot of people like it, because I grew up with the adventure games. Because I'm 20, and so DX and all that when it was originally ported is all kind of what was my jam. It still is, and yeah. But I will say about episode 2 of Sonic 4, it's not okay. Let me preface this. It's not the best game ever, obviously, but I think there's some fun to be had in it. To be honest, I think it actually does the special stages of 2 better than the original. They at least are a lot more fun in my opinion, because I hate the special stages of Sonic 2 so much.
I think the best way to do the special stages from Sonic 2 is the Christian Whitehead port. The Christian Whitehead port is, yet again, 60 FPS. It's fully 3D. You can see all of the obstacles coming up on you well before they even hit you. It's just fair, balanced, and it still looks really fucking good. And from what I've seen, the one for Sonic 2 HD, the fan game, if that ever fucking comes out, that one also looks good. But right now, the Christian Whitehead port is definitely the best one, because the mod loader for the Christian Whitehead decompilation just came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now if you get the newest version of the decompilation, you can play mods.
Oh. I didn't know that. I heard something about them being on PC recently. When I played Sonic 2, I bought it on the Switch, and then I also bought it on Steam. And I originally
honestly,
thought that was
the Switch port is kind of shit. I have it too, but it's kind of shit.
No, yeah, and it's frustrating with the special stages on those. But I need to play the Whitehead ports of 1 and 2. I haven't actually played them yet.
On the Switch one, have you played it with the drop dash? Because I swear to God, the drop dash is fucked. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like Mania's drop dash.
Is it in there from the start, or do you need to turn it on?
You have to turn it on.
Oh yeah, I didn't use it. But I mean, at the same time, I'm so dense that when I played Mania, that I didn't even know the drop dash was in it until 2 years after the fact. So yeah.
Well, the drop dash in Sonic 1 and 2, the Switch version, it just doesn't feel right. And I get that this is a newer company doing that port, and they haven't done a lot of Sonic ports. But I just really feel like if you're going to fuck with the core design of the game, you have to make it snappy. You have to make the momentum feel right. And I feel like the drop dash is done better in the fan mods for the Christian Whitehead ports than in the actual Sega official Sonic 1 and 2.
Yeah. Did you hear anything about the advanced games potentially being ported?
I hear every game's getting fucking ported. I don't believe it. People are just guessing at this point because they don't have any news to clickbait. I don't think anyone knows what the fuck is going on with Sonic, Sega included.
I really do wish we get those on modern consoles, because I'd love to play those.
I would too. I would love it if they did the Dimps collection. Start with all of the Dimps games, have them all in one collection. You know how Mega Man has a giant collection where it's all of the Zero games included on one collection? That would be cool if they did that with Sonic. You get Sonic Pocket Adventure, Advance 1, 2, 3, Sonic Rush, I forget the sequel's name.
Adventure.
Yeah, Sonic Rush Adventure, and then Sonic Colors DS, and then that's it.
I picked those up. I picked up a 3DS relatively recently, a couple months ago, and I picked those 3 up, but I haven't actually played them yet, because I plan on doing something for the channel with them at some point. I just haven't played them, so.
Well, Sonic Colors is basically another Rush game. I know it's an agreed opinion in the fandom, but it's basically another one.
No, yeah. I saw some gameplay of it. It looked interesting. I was also surprised with that apparently the story is a lot better in that compared to the English regular, like, I guess SD version it would be. So
Apparently, it's just a whole different plot, and that's actually more of the canon plot, because, like, some of the stuff that happens in the DS game are considered canon, and they never happened in the Wii game. Like, Mother Wisp is a character in the DS game, and not the Wii game, and Mother Wisp is canon.
yeah, that's a classic Sonic Team moment right there. Oh yeah, let's make it canon in the spin-off that, like, you know, probably like less than 20% of the whole fan base has played. Like, what?
Generations did it too, and Generations 3DS, there's actually different levels recreated and represented than in the console version.
Yeah. One of them, like one of my all-time favorite levels in all of video games period, is Emerald Coast, and that's in Generations on the 3DS. There's been rumors about like a port or something coming. Again, it's probably fake, but if they did do that, I'd love to see them put in the 3DS levels into Gen's like HD version, as like, I guess, recreating them somewhat. You know, I think that'd be super cool. And this is coming from someone that I'm not really the biggest Generations fan, but I can appreciate it. You know, so I really like to see that if they do that.
I would love it if Sega did port DS games and 3DS games, because I would love it if they went back and recoded them to where you didn't need two screens, instead of doing like some companies have done where they just like mix the screens together. Like the Wii U had two screens, and some of the Wii U ports just put the mini screen on screen 2, and it's like, don't do that. Find a way to code out the bottom screen and move those functions into the main game. That's the preferred way if you're going to re-release these games. Don't just fucking put two screens. I can emulate that. I can emulate with two screens. Don't give me that experience. I want something better. You have the source code. You can do it. Mm-hmm. There's no reason not to look better.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like, you know, with what's going on with Skyward Sword, you know, I hope that doesn't turn into a mess, because, you know, it doesn't look like, it looked better. Again, I haven't played it, but like, I was just like, oh really, that's $60, but it came with a Wii remote originally for like $70.
One of the big things they're bragging about is that you can control his swings, and I'm like, I just modded fucking Sonic and the Black Knight to control Sonic's swings. It's not that impressive. You can do it in like 20 minutes in Dolphin. I don't know why they're acting like that's a big deal. I can play Sonic and the Black Knight on PC, and it controls pretty fucking well. And all I did was map the controls. It's not that difficult. The Wii did not have actual fucking motion sensing for a lot of games. It was just gyro sensing, where it's like,
really,
if you tilt it, it registers it as a tilt, not an actual motion control game where it fully recognizes your movement. So for a lot of Wii games, all you have to do is register that it's swinging in X direction, and you're set. Meanwhile, with the Switch, you have to have a fucking gyro controller. You have to have an actual Switch controller to replicate the features of the Switch, because the Switch is hard to emulate for. But with the Wii, a lot of its shit isn't even useful, and it didn't even get real motion sensing technology until the add-on, the Wii Motion Plus.
Yeah, because wasn't it basically just a GameCube just slapped on with motion controls?
Yeah, very, very basic motion controls.
Yeah.
Basically, it could register if you slap the controller. That's it. If you waggle the controller, it registers what direction you're waggling it in. That's the Wii's technology.
I played Secret Rings on that, and then I honestly, out of the Sonic games, I think that was pretty much it. I actually like kind of enjoyed it a lot. I can look back in retrospect, that probably wasn't the best game in the franchise, but I still think there's a lot, you know, that it did well, that unfortunately, like, I haven't, you know, I don't really see many people like speak about like its soundtrack, for example, which I think has one of the best soundtracks in the franchise. Because like every level was pretty much a vocal track in that game, which is crazy.
Well,
you know?
people would probably hang me if I said this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. When it comes to me, I honestly feel like Sonic and the Secret Rings, Sonic and the Black Knight, and Sonic Forces are all the same game. They all control the same, as in you just run forward and you move Sonic to avoid obstacles. And when it came to Sonic Unleashed, I feel like you could actually control Sonic to a degree. And when it came to Sonic Colors, I feel like you can control Sonic to a degree. And with Sonic Lost World, you definitely could. You can move him around 360 almost. But with those 3 games in particular, that being the 2 Wii games and Forces, I really feel like it's an on-rails Sonic game. Sonic is moving, and all you do is get to dodge obstacles.
Yeah. I haven't really played Unleashed. I actually have been able to play the day levels for the first time ever. It's in what? How long has it been? It's been since that game's come out, like 12.
If they
12
port
years
that
now.
game, they better fucking have an option to map the homing attack to just A twice. Because the Wii version had homing attack be A twice.
I tried to emulate that with Xenia, and it just turned. It was so funny. Like I got through the first stage, and then like the textures would warp into this black hole that just turned into a huge black screen, and then I couldn't do anything after that. But on Generations, they actually they made well, I'm sure you know Project Unleashed. I started playing that.
It replicates all the levels.
Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed because like my only real look into the boost formula was with Generations, and Generations controls like very, very good. Its level design is great.
It controls better than Unleashed. I don't care what people say. People say they like Unleashed more, but I feel like Sonic moves too fast in that game. Sonic is hard to control in that game. He's like a car, and he's at max acceleration, and the more rings you get, the faster he goes. It's insane. Meanwhile, with Generations, I feel like Generations is a modified Sonic Colors. Sonic will go faster if you have a boost, but if you don't have a boost, he'll have the same set speed when he's running.
Yeah, I emulated again. I haven't played Colors really, but I emulated it relatively recently, and so I started playing a little bit of it, and I was thoroughly surprised because my biggest gripe with Gens was like its ranking system, which that's a whole different topic. But I've kind of understood how to appreciate that more because I was always into the score-based ones from the adventure games and Unleashed, for what I understand. And so I understand that like Gens is more about like speedrunning, and that makes a lot of sense once you think about it with how they have the levels set up. But
a lot of Generations is just missions. Like, so much of the game are the little funny missions with the other characters. Like, it'll be use Amy to smack Sonic with a hammer up to X point, or use Knuckles to dig for artifacts. Like, that's a lot of the game. And not very much of it is just the levels themselves. A lot of it is just padding with doing the other characters. And, there's one where it's like run through the level and you only get one ring, and Cream will give you the ring, and that's the most active that Cream is in that mission. It's just the regular mission, but Cream will give you a ring.
I love Cream. She's actually one of my favorite characters in the franchise. I just heard like she is so funny in Heroes. I've been replaying it, and
she's funny in the mobile game too. That Sega mobile game where it has like a bunch of different Sega characters in it. There's like this dude from Golden Axe, and he's like, quiet child, and she's like, I'm not afraid of you. Like she's so good with deadpan humor because you don't expect someone that cute to be scary.
I love stuff like that, and like hearing her and Amy go back and forth like in between the levels on Heroes, it's hilarious. Like the amount of sass. I'm actually doing right now. I just got to actually edit it whenever I finally get to that. But I did a video on Shadow and Rouge's like concept art and development, and I'm doing one right now for Cream and Omega, and it reminded me when you said about the how Sega repurposes a lot of the concepts from the old games into new ones and stuff like that. And some of her art, actually, funny enough, are you familiar with Marine the Raccoon?
Yes, I did see that she got recycled into Marine. Marine kind of has the same color palette too.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty cool because like I didn't know anything about that really. I actually thought Marine was from Sonic Boom originally.
No,
They started looking into
Styx
that.
is kind of just a rip-off of her, to be honest.
Yeah, I started watching that recently. And I don't know, have you seen Boom?
Yeah, the sad thing is, if you followed the development of Sonic Synergy, Styx was actually going to be an original character, and she was going to have a kind of a Knuckles-esque story, because Knuckles isn't Knuckles in that franchise. She was going to be the Islander that they encounter, and she's a savage, and she's wearing Islander gear, and that's why she is so different than the others, because she was on her own for so long and she hasn't interacted with people, so she's a bit crazy. And that was going to be her original story, but then they cut her from her game that she was going to be introduced in, and they put her in the cartoon show, and the cartoon show was actually a different show at first, and they just took the world setting and characters from the game that was in development. So they didn't know what character she was going to be, so they just took her and exaggerated her few characteristics to the extreme and made her Alex Jones and called it a day.
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, that's a pretty good connection. It does make a lot of sense, because she's crazy. Oh my god! But I will say though, the comedy in the show, especially with Knuckles, I find it hilarious. There's that one. I'm still on season 1 for it, and the one scene where the robot's talking and saying whatever they're saying in their mind, and he's like, the robot, like Knuckles is talking and the robot's like, I'm stupid or something like. Oh, it was so funny to me. I was crying laughing at that. But
I think when it came to Sonic Boom, the cartoon, the best part of it is Mike Pollock and Orbot and Cubot. And normally I didn't like those three, but I feel like in that show they really work because they're not too evil. They're just kind of goofballs. So it's just funny seeing them interact with each other. And it's so good to see Orbot and Cubot like get interactions that isn't just the same joke of Cubot fucked up his voice, guys. Remember that? That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's a pirate.
I'm not normally a fan of that like kind of trope, but like I think it can always be done well. And I agree with you that Boom did it well. Boom did all three of those characters well. I think.
Well, it's such a classic dynamic of there being the evil genius and the two lackeys. That goes all the way back to Scratch and Grounder and Dr. Robotnik.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about them.
Yeah.
I was watching X last night, Sonic X, and I don't even remember the two guys' names. The two robots.
It's let me look up their names.
But you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, like I only really watched like the first couple episodes of X when I was younger. I had the one on the GBA cartridge you could get back in the day, where you could get like the little videos on the Game Boy.
It's Deco and Boko.
I would have never have guessed that. But yeah, there is so much weird stuff in the pre-SA1 arc in that. Oh, I was like,
well,
what the?
If you know the development of that anime, it was originally going to be a wacky Monster of the Week type show set in Sonic's world, and they ended up changing it during development. And for some reason, it changed so drastically to where it ended up introducing Chris Thorndike and the rest, because Chris Thorndike was not in the original pitch. He was added into the second version of the show. And if you watch the pilot, it's set in Sonic's world, and there is no Chris Thorndike. There's animal people in the city. The series is originally just going to be Eggman shows up, he causes havoc, Sonic stops him. That's the whole show. And I feel like they wrote enough of those episodes to where when Sega's like, nah, we're going to make this like the games, they're like, well, we already have the scripts written. We have to do something. This is an anime. We have to do this like daily practically. You have to let us use these scripts. So that's what I feel like happened with Sonic X. And with Sonic X, a lot of the non-game plots are actually really fucking weird. Because there's like one where they're going to like the lost city of Atlantis. It's not called Atlantis, but it's Atlantis. And it's just such a weird arc. And it's like, this is in Sonic X. And it's right after Adventure 1 and 2, or right after Adventure 1 at least.
No, yeah. I was watching one. I did like I just opened a Discord for my channel relatively recently, and I was doing like a movie night on there. And yeah, there was this one where it's like this monkey robot, and then like Tails has like this talk, like a legit like breakdown in front of these like regular, you know, like animals and stuff. It was so bizarre,
it's the Weird Nature episode that was just a big Kimba reference. Yeah. See, the thing is, they actually fucked that up in the 4Kids version. It's supposed to basically be a giant homage to Kimba, and in the 4Kids version, the animals don't talk, but in the Japanese versions, the animals do talk. So you actually get to learn stuff about the animals because they talk like the animals do in Kimba.
Yeah.
So it made a little bit more sense in the Japanese version, but in the US version, they just fucked it up so bad that you miss like the context to what's even going on.
Yeah, I was watching the dub, so that explains a lot now because I guess I should just watch the sub from now on.
Well, I didn't watch the sub. I've just watched so many dissection videos going over why Sonic X turned out the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to watch the sub. I don't like the Japanese Sonic voice cast, excluding Sonic and Eggman.
No, yeah. I'm familiar with, you know, Sonic, but I'm not too familiar with the rest of the
Eggman
Japanese.
just sounds like Dean Bristow in Japanese. That's it. He sounds identical to Dean Bristow.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Japanese Eggman died not too long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he died not too long ago.
That's a shame.
Yeah, so they'll have to replace their Eggman too.
Mm.
But I think we should get back to what we were talking about because we've gone well over our time.
Oh.
So
Sorry.
No, it's fine. These aren't really having a set time. But going forward with your channel, is there any other games you would want to look at concept art wise? Are there any more characters you want to look at concept wise? Are you going to continue that series? Because that's the one I got into you for.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. If you're talking about, do you mean solely Sonic or?
Well, yeah, the
Okay.
how you did the Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 concept art videos.
Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of I have the script written. It's just I gotta get my lazy ass to actually talk over the mic on it. I'm doing a Heroes concept art over the like general, well not general, but like all the concept art of Heroes, and that's gonna be a fat video. I've been trying to cut it down a little bit because, you know, just trying to refine it a little bit more. And then I'm also working on I'm in the middle of working on, I just got to edit that one. That should be out actually in the next couple of days. But a Cream and Omega video talking about, much like the Shadow and Rouge one, talking about their concept art and their, you know, their development and stuff like that.
Well, that will definitely be out by the time this video goes up because I'm suspended from YouTube for a week thanks to a bullying strike.
Oh. Well, hey, yeah, I'll probably have it out in like a day or two. I just got to edit it. It's not too long, but yeah, there's you know, like, you know, I was saying earlier that Cream and Omega also are two of my favorite characters in the franchise, and I
feel like they're really similar to one another because they're both the deadpan, like sarcastic characters for their team.
Oh yeah. And I love comedy like that. Like that's some of my favorite comedy. And so that has always been something that like I always wanted to kind of look into because like Cream and Omega have kind of they've always been there, but like no one really has looked into their development too much, and at least from what I've seen. I've always like I said, they've always been some of my favorites.
Is
So
there
I thought it'd be cool to
concept
take a look
art?
into them.
Is there concept art for Omega?
Indirectly, without spoiling anything, indirectly, yes. It's not
Okay.
like a lot of the other characters. I kind of had to do my own digging with it, but with that, there's actually a pretty big treat.
Because I had my own theory for a concept for Omega, but I'll let you continue with your thing, and then I'll tell you what I think Omega was originally.
Okay. He, again, without spoiling too much for the video, there's some storyboards that were made for Team Dark, and it's the full storyboard of their intro, and he looks completely different, and there's well, here, let me back up a little bit. There's two storyboards made. There's one for the full Sonic Heroes intro, which I am covering in the full Heroes concept art video, and then there's one for Team Dark's Soul intro when you go to like click their story and everything.
Yeah, that was included in the Sonic, one of the Sonic collections, wasn't it? The Sonic Mega Collection, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, you can like it does that, and it's cool because the video with that in the Mega Collection, it
didn't have lyrics to the music. It was like
yeah, because the lead singer of Crush 40, he's just like singing like absolute gibberish. Johnny Gioli, I believe his name is, and I may have said that wrong. I got corrected last time in one of my videos because I have trouble pronouncing some of the names, especially the Japanese names. So
Japanese is difficult.
Mm-hmm. But he's indirectly like a rough sketch because the two storyboards were done by two different artists. So Kazuyuki Hoshino, who's been with the franchise for God knows how long now, he originally made Metal Sonic, originally made Amy, their original designs, which that's also something I do want to cover sometime in the future once I go back to the classic games. And
to be fair, he just modified Amy. Amy existed in the manga beforehand, so
true.
Yeah, he just modified her design.
Oh, okay, yeah. I actually I didn't know that.
Yeah, she premiered in the manga first, and her name was spelled with an E, and they ended up changing it to Amy with an A because I guess they didn't want people to think her name was Emmy.
I haven't really done too much research on the manga and CD in general. So, well, thank you for letting me know about that because now I will take that moving forward because I didn't know. But he did a lot of the art for those games, and he's the lead artist for Sonic Heroes, and his version of the intro of Sonic Heroes, because he did the intro storyboard, right? And his version for a lot of the sketches and stuff, especially for the new characters like Cream, Omega, they look completely different for the most part, and then for the actual Team Dark intro, Shiro Miyakawa, who wrote the games for Sonic Adventure 2 all the way up to Black Knight, and also funny thing, he actually taught himself how to draw just to do the storyboards for those games. Like the dude was dedicated completely, and he's what really made those games what they are. Especially with Shadow, he because Izuka always wanted to make a character that was like the like anti of Sonic, but like Miyakawa's who really turned Shadow from just like a Vegeta into something that was more like a lot more fleshed out. And that's not knocking Vegeta at all. I love Vegeta, but you know what I'm saying,
Vegeta
but
didn't really become a hero until Dragon Ball Super, so I get what you're saying.
yeah. And so like I always thought that was super cool, and his design of Omega is very similar to the final product, so it leads me to believe, and again I had to do my kind of my own connection with that there, because it leads me to believe that like Hoshino's art of the storyboards is way earlier in development, And reading about the development of Heroes was also really interesting because like that's always a game like I have a lot of nostalgia for. Like, you know, I love that game, even though it's got its things, but like what doesn't at this point? You know?
I have my own conspiracy theory to what Omega's concept art looked like, and chances are I'm wrong, and chances are I'll be proven wrong eventually when Sega does release documents. But I personally feel like, have you ever played Sonic Battle?
Yes.
Chaos Gamma is Omega's prototype. Because Chaos Gamma makes no sense. You fight him when he's teamed up with Rouge. He's fucking Omega. He's Omega, and that game was in development at the same time, and Omega was originally just going to be Gamma, but with arms. And for some reason they changed it, because he basically is just Gamma with arms and bigger. So it would make sense if his original concept design was just Gamma with arms. And they just kept redrawing him to where he looked like that, but they had already made his sprite for Sonic Battle, because the Game Boy games were in production and getting done quicker than the console games. Because I think Cream premiered in the Game Boy game, if I'm not mistaken. Well, she premiered in Sonic Adventure DX, but still.
She premiered in Advance 2 originally.
Did she get there before DX? Because I know she's an Easter egg in DX.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to double check on the date, so just to clarify.
Okay, well, I know the mobile games were going faster than the console games. And it would make sense if they had started working on Omega all the way back then. And he is what Chaos Gamma is. And because that game was already so far in development, they're like, well, we can't change him. We'll just give him a different name.
Yeah. I honestly, I kind of forgot about Chaos Gamma, but now that you mentioned that, I looked up his thing again, so I apologize if you hear me typing in the background.
Nah, it's fine.
Curious. And yeah, I honestly could see that it is kind of similar. His especially at the top part, and you know, if you check the video, you'll definitely be able to see, and if you want, I can send it to you once we're done. It looks similar. It looks very similar, and yeah, Cream originally, she actually appeared first in Mega Collection, funny enough, but her first true appearance was in Advance 2, because it came out, like, about a year before DX did for the GameCube.
Oh, okay. Because I don't know about Japanese release dates. That's always what gets me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, here, I'm just looking up the actual... Let me look up the Japanese.
But with the features that they cut from Gamma for Chaos Gamma, it makes him look really similar to Omega, but just not as heavily built. Like, they got rid of his little light in the front, just like Omega. They got rid of his little scope on his head, just like Omega. He's basically Omega, but smaller, and he doesn't have, like, some of the sturdier aspects of Omega, but they look really fucking similar, like Chaos Gamma and Omega.
Funny enough, I'm looking at it right now. There's a little comparison on Google Images. Yeah, he doesn't even have like the launcher from Adventure, which is funny. You know,
this is supposed to be a different character. Like, this is a new Eggman robot, and the funny thing is, when you do the mission mode, you fight him, and he's teamed up with Rouge. Like, what are the odds that he is an Eggman robot that is independent, and he can, like, spawn a gun out of his body, just like Omega. He can spawn guns out of his body. He's independent from Eggman, and he's teamed up with Rouge, and he's not Omega.
Yeah, I haven't played Battle in God knows how long, but that is hilarious.
I think this is where he started, and this is what Omega was supposed to be originally.
I could definitely see that. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Gamma originally started as an egg robo. So the fact of an egg robo turning into Gamma, and then Gamma turning into Chaos Gamma, and then Chaos Gamma inspiring Omega, It's just really a cool idea to humor. I can't prove that
Oh, yeah.
Chaos Gamma is Omega, but deep down inside, I think he is. I think
Well,
he is the same robot.
I'm gonna back that theory with you. Yeah, you convinced me on that. I never thought of that. I never really made the connection with that. That's a good point.
It's because people overlook that game. That game is just so irrelevant, but I focus on the irrelevant in Sonic.
Yeah.
And Chaos Gamma, every time I see him, I'm like, he is the anomaly. He makes no sense. And it's weird that Chaos is in that game too, but Chaos Gamma is weird, because even his name doesn't make any fucking sense. Chaos Gamma?
Yeah, it's kind of a goofy name.
It's like, is he the same Gamma rebuilt? Is he a new Gamma? Why wasn't he ever used again?
No, I agree. And I'm with you though on I you know, just from growing up, like I grew up with a lot of the games that are considered like the quote unquote bad games. I don't really necessarily think that for a lot of them. And I've been trying to really make a focal point on my channel. And you know, this goes for pretty much everything, that like there's always good aspects of stuff, and like I've really been trying to not have to preface anything with, like, for example, like I'm probably gonna spend a heavy amount on 06, and like I'm not, you know, I don't want to be prefacing everything with like, oh well, you know, Sonic 06 was a bad game, yada 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 yada. Like we can just talk about the music of Sonic 06 or the concept art of Sonic 06 without having to knock anything down beforehand. I'm just using that as an example, of course, but like, you know, with anything, because it's really like frustrated me how this franchise has just become like the butt. And granted, you know, like some of it is self-induced, but like the butt of a lot of jokes, like especially on YouTube, or it's just like, oh yeah, this whole mentality of how, like, you know, these games that have been regarded as like excellent 10 out of 10s or 9 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s, so, you know, great games, have just become, oh yeah, they're all shit now.
I have another thing to add to my conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who voiced him in his only appearance?
Oh.
John St. John.
Wait, Omega or
Chaos Gamma.
I didn't know that.
In his only appearance, he was voiced by John St. John, the voice actor for Omega. He was fucking Omega. I won't accept it. He was Omega. He is the prototype for Omega. And I don't know what happened in development, but for some reason during development they ditched him being Omega. And he serves a similar function in the plot too. He was there to guard Emerald and to be sure that Emerald didn't go out of control. Just like how Omega was there to guard Shadow. They serve the same purpose in the plot. They're basically the same character.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think about that at all. Yeah, that's honestly, like, I definitely can see how that would. I definitely can see how that would be true, like, because I didn't even know John St. John voiced Omega until I was doing research for this video. You know, I just thought it was some guy they picked up off the street or whatever, and then I looked and I was like, oh my god, it's Duke Nukem. Like, what? Like, you know?
I think he only voices Omega for that one game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, for Heroes, and then for Heroes and Battle. So that was super cool with that.
Omega didn't appear in Battle, even though it's supposed to take place at the same time. It's Chaos Gamma. There is no Omega.
Forgive me. No, yeah, forgive me. I meant to say Gamma. But no, yeah, he did 2 roles for Sonic and then dipped.
And what's funny is in the Sonic X anime, they have an adaptation for Sonic Battle and no adaptation for Sonic Heroes. So
yeah.
Sonic Battle definitely takes place before Sonic Heroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't played the Battle or the advanced games in forever, but like I always thought it was cool, that arc that they had in between like, from, I think it was what, like 3 Battle, and then I'm missing 1 in between that. There's one more game that's attached to that little arc they had in that. But I thought it was cool that they did adapt that in Sonic X. And like, you want to talk about like forgotten characters? What the heck happened to Emerald? Like, I love
Emerald dies at the end of his story, and then Gemerald is his doppelganger created by
Yeah.
Eggman, and Gemerald is still in the canon.
Yeah, but like he's never like brought up.
He's never featured in the games, but Gemerald is a character in the comics. So, if you're one of the people that believe that the comics are canon to the games, Gemerald is still around, but not Emerald. Emerald's dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't really looked. I haven't dove too deep into the comics, so that's always been an area that's always been gray for me.
Well, Emerald dies at the end of his game, Sonic Battle, but Gemerald is basically Emerald, because Eggman scanned Emerald's database and then made an exact copy of him. So they're the same character. It's just one's Eggman built and one's a Gizoid.
Okay, yeah. It's been so long for me.
And if you remember the fucking Sonic Chronicles RPG or whatever it's called, that also continues the Gizoids, and it's revealed that the Gizoids were made by echidnas. So Gizoids are ancient echidna technology. Whatever.
I would love for them to go back and do another RPG. I feel like there's so much untapped potential with that. With Atlas, especially, you know, they got them under the hood like Sega does, so it's like
it'd be cool if someone went back and modified the Sonic RPG to be good. But I feel like we've talked a little too long, and I feel like we need to wrap it up. So, going forward, is there anything you're excited about with YouTube?
Honestly, I do this as a hobby. I'm in college right now, and the biggest enjoyment I've gotten out of this is just being able to, and I know this is gonna sound super cheesy, but like I mean it this way. Well, not cheesy, but you know what I'm saying. I really enjoy being able to interact and share information with people on this franchise and everything. It's been super cool being able to just talk with people about why they love all these games, and it really does like make my day just being able to sit there and just talk. I try to interact with everyone in the comment section about it, just their perspectives on certain things and the different angles people have. There was a lot actually for that Shadow video of just different angles on how people took his character or Rouge, and stuff like that, and I thought that was super cool and really interesting. So
yeah, and I'm really excited to see your channel continue. I feel like my advice to you with your channel, and you don't have to take it, but I think you need to focus on your branding, because right now you're just Cheese the Chow with sunglasses. I feel like if you think about it long and hard, come up with a different Chow you'd want to represent you, because there are so many different Chows out there. And you can use that as your icon. Like, look up the Chow database. There's so many different variations of Chow. Like, find the one that you love, get someone to do artwork of that, and then that could be identified with you. So when people see it, they'll be like, wow, that's him. That's the guy. Instead of being like, oh, wow, that's Cheese. And I feel like a YouTube banner would help, too. Like, I like the Angel Island, but maybe having like your name on it or something, like something to identify that the banner is yours. Because like some channels can do the obscure banner, but that's really only for like extremely sarcastic fucking joke channels like Cybershell, where it's just no text on the banner at all. I feel like that would be my advice to you is focus on the YouTube branding, because the YouTube branding is kind of lacking. Okay. But I like your videos.
What?
I like your videos, though. I feel like the videos are fine.
Oh, thank you. Seriously, like that means a lot, and I'm definitely gonna work on that, because that was, I just kind of threw that up there as a placeholder in regards.
I assumed.
Yeah. And I do need to work on that, and that's a good idea about using a different Chow, though.
There's so many variations. If you have any particular taste, there's so many. There's so many different Chow out there.
I always like the white ones, the white silver ones. I think they're the Angel.
Oh yeah. There's so many variations of the Angel Chow, the Hero Chow. It's just crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate the advice, and I'm gonna work on that. So.
Yeah, it was fun having you on here, and I hope your channel the best. If you guys want to check him out, his channel link will be in the description below. And there's some different Sonic videos there. It's not just Sonic news shit. So I wanna keep doing Sonic Tuber shoutouts like this. I'm always looking out for more channels to spotlight because I want to help the community grow, and I want to help other opinions grow, because I feel like channels like yours are the ones that we need in the Sonic community. People who explore the lore of Sonic the Hedgehog, people who explore the history of Sonic the Hedgehog, rather than just, hey guys, there's news that I found on Twitter. I think this is more interesting. Let me deal with my phone. It's beeping.
No, you're good.
Okay, but yeah, it's better than the news.
Well, I appreciate that, because I'll be real quick. I just seriously, I want to say just thank you so much. Like, I'm very, very grateful and thankful to even be on here. It really means a lot that you're even having me on here. I just want to be able to just give back to the community, because like this community has been one that's always given a lot to me, just with all the cool art and stuff. It may not have been directly, but I've always loved this franchise, and it's always been one that I've always will and still do hold dear to my heart. And I just want to be able to share information on what made these games so great, so.
Yeah. Well, it was fun having you get on, and it was fun doing this show with you. If you guys like this video, hit the like button. If you really like it, share it. And if you want to see more, then subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and bye.